clever bug. The conversation.
I'm now inside the cow's stomach. Hey, how long does it take for a cow to digest its food? Oh, as long as it took to finish that sentence.
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
Cool cats, it's me, Adam. And we have Andrew as well. I'm here too. Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining me. So, let me explain what we're doing here. Because right now, there is just so much happening in the worlds of Nintendo and Donkey Kong. And that goes beyond the obvious, the impending release of the Switch 2 and then Donkey Kong Bonanza. Because last September, the Nintendo Museum opened in Kyoto, Japan. And then in December, Donkey Kong Country opened as part of Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Japan. And of course, you know, the American equivalent of the latter just opened as part of Epic Universe at Universal Orlando Resorts. But money's tight at the moment for me. I have my Switch 2, I have my Mario Kart World, I have my Donkey Kong Bonanza, I had to buy Dunk Dunk twice, and
Kyle, you didn't have to do that.
I did, because we're going to do a Dunk Dunk episode of the Kongversation, but because I've had to basically squeeze every last dollar into my Donkey Kong journalism career, it means I'm not going to any of these places that are actually relevant for Donkey Kong journalism. And Universal Orlando didn't think to send me a press invite for the opening of Epic Universe, just as I'm sure Nintendo forgot to send me a comped Switch 2. Because they must have lost my email, address, phone number, entire identity, you know. So it's fine. I'm not upset about it.
Well, they keep sending things to Kyle Russell, so
Yeah, that's right. Hyde Roussel, yeah. No, it's good. I'm glad somebody is. But luckily, you two are eccentric billionaires. And you just jet around the world in your private plane. And you recently went to Japan along with Tate, who, as recently established on the Kongversation, we do not know the rules of. And you all comprise 3/5 of the Idaho crew, which is not a militia. It's kind of a communal living situation, because you are there with Dustin and Cameron as well, and the whole of you, the whole mess of you. I recently learned School of Jellyfish is called a smack, so I'll call you a smack of folk. You stream on our Twitch channel every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 6 p.m. your potato clock time. And you also manage and moderate the DK Vine forum.
yeah, we smack it out every week at 6 p.m. So.
Yeah, we're always smacking around here. You can't stop us.
You also smack people around on the forum who need it.
Yeah, currently during our Tuesday streams, if you are not watching, you should, because they're actually really fun. But as of right now, because back during the April Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, in honor of the impending release of Bonanza, we have shockingly actually been going through Donkey Kong games for one of the first times. So
we don't play those on the DK Vine Twitch. We don't play Donkey Kong games.
So we've been playing through the mainline Donkey Kong countries. We're currently on Donkey Kong Country 3.
GBA.
Yep, Donkey Kong Country 3 GBA.
So watch that.
Yeah, and hopefully we will be finishing it right before the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. And hopefully that gives us just enough time to also squeeze out a Donkey Kong 64 full playthrough before we head on over to Bonanza Town.
Because you know how much we love to squeeze it out.
I know. I always chuckle when somebody squeezes it out. So yeah, watch them on Twitch. Join the DK Vine forum. We got some nice surprises, or you all have some nice surprises in the works for the forum. But you going to Japan finally got us boots on the ground for both the OG, the original Donkey Kong Country theme park, and the Nintendo Museum. Because we've done episodes, extensive episodes on both, but we've had no personal experiences. So I expect some earth-shattering revelations from you both. But I also want to know, what is Donkey Kong fandom like in Japan from what you've seen? Because there are so many misconceptions, mostly from Western-based Nintendo fans, about how Donkey Kong Country, Rare, or the DKU at large is perceived in Japan. Because there's this idea that it's not popular, nobody cares about it, and at worst, it is utterly despised. This has been ingrained into a lot of online discourse for the past 25 years or so, and we can delve into the psychology about why those assumptions exist in a bit. But, I know from running DK Vine's social media channels that, no, there are definitely hardcore DK and even DKU fans in Japan. I mean, just last weekend, there was this big, DKU art jam with Japanese fans, and you're seeing, all this wild art of just Donkey Kong, Banjo-Kazooie, Conker, Diddy Kong Racing, even Ukulele was in there. And it was just this stuff exists. This stuff transcends languages, cultural barriers. And I think people are in for a surprise when they hear some of your stories that you're going to share. But I'm looking forward to it because you are also both more attuned to this than some Western travelers to Japan would be.
Yeah, we knew what to look for.
You knew what to look for, and you might have just discovered how pervasive Donkey Kong actually is in Nintendo's homeland. So I'm looking forward to hearing your stories. But before we get into it, oh boy, Stinky Ape Summer is coming. The weather forecast says it's gonna get hot and it's gonna get really smelly, because I can now announce that the day the Switch 2 launches, this Thursday, June 5th, we will be launching Stinky Ape Summer with a live Kongversation kickoff at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. BST. Yes, we're doing it Nintendo Direct style. Join us at twitch.tv/DKVine. We'll be launching Stinky Ape Summer, and this is going to be an unusual Stinky Ape Summer, because Stinky Ape Summer, for those who are unaware, who have just discovered us in recent months, Stinky Ape Summer is sort of our branding for the video game announcement season. It used to be E3. E3 completely collapsed with the pandemic, and then we don't want to play by Jeff Keighley's rules here. That's not something I'm interested in doing. So we decided we would brand the entire summer months, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, as Stinky Ape Summer. So it's going to kick off June 5th.
And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you cannot join.
No, you can. It's called Well-Groomed New World Monkey Winter in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, I see.
I made sure to be inclusive, because I, despite my lack of travel due to my reduced budget, am still a worldly individual. I like to fancy myself as someone who's cultured and debonair.
Well, we're all on one planet, okay? We're all one people, So
Exactly. So, Stinky Ape Summer, June 5th, and then I'll be going on my bear hike in the day or so after, and I don't know what the bear hike means this year, considering that traditionally I would go searching for bears in the mountainous woods because seeing a bear would be a good omen for the video game announcement season as far as the DKU goes. But we're already getting a new 3D Donkey Kong game on July 17th, so I don't know what I'm doing there. But I like bears. I like seeing bears, and we do.
I see them all the time when I go on certain websites.
Yeah, I know. Animal Planet. So we'll have a live conversation then following the Xbox showcase on June 8th. Sunday, June 8th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. BST. It's the Xbox showcase. Will Rare finally show off Everwild? I don't know. I don't know. Will they announce a new Banjo-Kazooie game? No. So, check with us as when exactly we'll be doing that live conversation. And we'll also do a Stinky Ape Summer episode for whenever the Nintendo Direct is. Of course, there's probably going to be some sort of Donkey Kong Bonanza thing as well. So, the Stinky Ape Summer branding will continue, basically, until Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not, Talk Like a Pirate Day on September 19th is when it officially wraps up, and we'll have all sorts of special episodes, we'll have festivities. Of course, the center of gravity this Stinky Ape Summer is the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza on July 17th. It's what the entire summer is kind of built around for us this year, but we're going to have lots of other stuff.
The Donkey Kong podcasts will continue until morale improves.
Yes. So I'm going to be very busy. Going to be very busy the next couple of weeks. So I want to thank, in particular, our patrons, because our patrons are the entire reason I can afford a Switch 2, and I can afford Dunk twice. So we stream these episodes of The Kongversation, the ones that aren't streamed live on our Twitch channel, to our $5 and up patrons. Hello to March Rose, hello to Chocolate Milk Drinker, hello to Skips, hello to Just Andre. It's so nice of you to join us. Welcome.
We're getting into it, right?
One more thing, actually, and I just kind of wanted to spring this onto Hyle, but I just wanted to briefly say that 2025, this year, actually marks 10 years since I've joined the DK Vine community, and I found DK Vine. Now, it'll be another 2 years before the 10-year anniversary of when I joined the staff, but I did want to say, I find it crazy that it's already been 10 years since I've discovered this site. And
yeah, you're getting old.
Yeah, I'm getting very old, and I just wanted to say, it's been such a fun ride to have discovered this website and all these great people, and just to have these discussions. There's so much about finding this website and community that means so much to me, and I couldn't be happier here to talk about the future of Donkey Kong today, Hyle. I think it's a really special thing, and I couldn't be more happy to have spent 10 years here.
Hey, I'm glad to have you. It's been, that's the beautiful thing about DK Vine is that people come and go, but I'm still here. and I meet all sorts of people from around the world, and sometimes they go to work for me and I don't pay them. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad to not be paid.
Everybody go buy the Idaho Crew shirt.
Yeah, if you want to actually pay us, you can go buy a nice Idaho Crew shirt. You can buy a nice DK Vine shirt.
Or you can not. That's okay, too.
You can watch our streams. That gives us a little bit of money,
Yeah. If a rising tide lifts all boats. If DK Vine does well, then, trickle down economics. Is that what I'm advocating for? I'm sorry. Yuck. But... Most of the funds go to keeping DK Vine running, but hopefully, we can get in the black eventually, right? It's got to happen eventually one of these days. But no.
While we're on economics, the thing about Japan right now is that the yen is very weak. So a lot of things that are not normally affordable there as a tourist are very affordable, which is a big factor in some of the stuff we were able to do on our trip. So I wanted to mention that a bit at the offset.
And also being eccentric billionaires, which actually translates into we saved
Saved up.
up for about a decade to do this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, and it
okay.
was
Well,
fun.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing I probably need to be better at is saving money because I see like, ooh, there's a first four figure statue of Walrus Banjo. Yes,
Well, Hyle,
please.
the thing is, if you don't buy 2 copies of Dunk Dunk, that's like half the price.
That's
Yeah, I
like
think
$16 that you could have spent on like a Virtual Boy T-shirt at the Nintendo Museum.
that's true. That's true. Well, Dunk Dunk was actually on sale when it launched, so I didn't quite spend $16. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I understand. I understand. So
Yeah, that's basic economics.
let's talk about your trip to Japan. How long were you there for? What were your ambitions for going? Because I have to imagine if you were planning to go to Japan for a decade or so, you probably had a long itinerary that you then had to whittle down to something manageable.
Oh, most certainly. So the main point of going to Japan was essentially just to relax and finally have a honeymoon to ourselves. I don't know if you know this, but the both of us, I believe we got married on this very website on this very channel stream.
Well, not on this one because this one's a different. This is the patron exclusive. But uh,
That's true.
yeah. So not on this very. Um, but at the time, it was mostly like a weird thing where it was like a weirdly politicized thing where we were like, okay, let's sign some papers. So we delayed our little honeymoon, and then we only did it now. So
Yeah, there were a lot of factors at play, some health issues which have been sorted out. Just some issues of not having enough money, you know. There might have been a small thing about a worldwide pandemic the first time we were about to go to Japan and they had to close off all the borders for 2 years. But yeah, but essentially, as we were getting ready to, and planning this specific trip, you know, that's when a lot of the Donkey Kong and rare related stuff started coming out. You know, we had the announcement of the Nintendo Museum opening up, and then very shortly after that was Super Nintendo World's Donkey Kong Country. And we just sort of realized that, oh, not only is this going to be a great way to finally have a vacation and enjoy a sort of honeymoon, extended honeymoon, but also like we can kind of do this for DK Vine and check out what like the status of Donkey Kong is like in Japan. Like, how's the brand holding up? What are the thoughts of Donkey Kong himself and those characters? Like, how does Japan view that? And
uh,
as we visited, like, lots of interesting things came to light.
now, Adam, you skipped the itinerary part, which is what Hyle asked, which is that we stayed for 2 weeks. We had 3 days in Tokyo, then 3 days in Osaka, and then the rest of the trip was in Tokyo again.
Yes.
Can I just say though that I admire that you're like, we want to go on a honeymoon, and you found the closest equivalent to actually honeymooning on Donkey Kong Island, which is probably the ideal.
Oh yeah, no, like there's nothing more romantic than going to Donkey Kong Country, seeing the real Donkey Kong's ass.
No,
And
I
having
mean,
a nice, cool DK Crush Sunday.
yeah, like when I went on my honeymoon, I went to the Dominican Republic with my wife, but we ended up going one day. There was a monkey preserve, in the Dominican Republic, and we were like, I've got to do this because I want to have monkeys crawling all over me for my honeymoon, and which I did. They were actually crawling on me. These just monkeys, like three at a time, would just like crawl up your shirt, and it was the sexiest day of my life.
And you never wash that shirt again.
I wore my Fangamer Diddy Kong shirt on that day because I just wanted to be a complete tit.
Well, you didn't need to try to do that, but the amount of time it took. So we flew. It took like What was it? It was like an 18-hour flight.
So our first flight going to Japan took us from Boise to Dallas Fort Worth, and then from Dallas Fort Worth to
Back over
Japan.
Boise.
Yeah, it was a very weird route.
It sent us in
What?
circles. But the amount of time since getting off the plane before we saw Donkey Kong was about 10 minutes because on every single train that you will ever take, there are Bonanza commercials playing basically every couple minutes.
So every week, there will be lots of commercials and train specific shows that will play on the trains that go through Japan, and one of them is a small little Nintendo show, basically where the Pikmin will find a random item and you have to guess what it is. Then after that is always followed up by an actual Nintendo commercial. And for one of the weeks, it was a Nintendo commercial about the Switch 2, and the game that was being showcased off was Donkey Kong Bonanza, where they were showing off like the console in undocked mode. There's just big old photo of just big old Donkey Kong Bonanza trailer playing on the Switch 2 as they show off the features. And, that's kind of a fun thing already to see just immediately on a train, and there's Donkey Kong.
Was it any new footage or just the same trailer from the direct?
It was most of the same trailer, but
Yeah, it was the same trailer, but, they're still putting Donkey Kong front and center.
But I mean, the thing about the trains is that literally everyone in Tokyo is going to be riding that train. So,
Yes. So
marketing a thing like that airs like every couple minutes on a train is a pretty big marketing push.
They're gonna be seeing Donkey Kong a lot on the train. They're gonna be seeing the Switch 2, and since they're connecting it with Donkey Kong Bonanza, they're like, hey, I should get a Switch 2 for Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Trains, by the way, are actually a thing in Japan. For those in the U.S. who might not be aware of efficient public transportation, it's
Yeah, they were packed back to back with sometimes those trains were so full that you could not be in them without touching another person.
sexy.
So, if you don't like crowds, you will not like Japan.
Respectfully, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a fun honeymoon, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, no, just invite many
everybody.
people, yeah.
Donkey Kong on trains. All right, I'm taking notes, by the way, just so I'll commit this to memory.
Yeah, not only that, but I believe there were a couple of train stations in particular where, if you're roaming around a train station and trying to, either find some concessions or transferring to your next track, you will also just see big billboards inside those train stations. And I do believe we didn't take a screenshot of it, but I believe there was one that had a big Mario Kart World banner, but also there was a train station that had a big Donkey Kong Bonanza banner.
Good. I mean, I'm glad. It's really good to see that Nintendo is aggressively just littering the landscape in their home country with Donkey Kong renders. I mean, that's the way I would imagine it to be. And if I had gone at any point, it wouldn't be right before a new Donkey Kong game. So I would probably be let down. I'd probably be disappointed. And it would probably be something like Splatoon or Zelda or something. So I think this is probably the perfect time for the both of you to go. And Tate.
Honestly, I would think that we went at a pretty good time, I'd say. But at the same time, I'd say in the next week, once the Switch 2 launches, I feel like they're going to kick things into overdrive even with Donkey Kong. I feel like those Mario Kart World advertisements, those are going to be gone. I feel like it's going to be all Donkey Kong soon on those trains. Since they don't have to give the sell for Mario Kart anymore, it's going to be even more Donkey Kong.
I imagine they're going to be pushing Mario Kart for a while. I have a feeling that's going to be the persistent seller on the Switch 2 for a good long time.
It'll be a persistent seller, but once the Switch 2 is out, you've got like a month before Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out. So like you got to start rolling out those
Yeah,
advertisements.
I think they're gonna kick it into high gear for sure.
All right. Well, so you spent the first 3 days in Tokyo?
Yeah. And we did do some things that were DKU related in Tokyo on those first 3 days.
So
And even some rare related things, which you'll find out about.
so the thing, talking about the marketing push. So Japan, they do this thing where you'll go in and you can buy like a themed lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, And so people may be familiar with the last one, Banana Stand. But what people don't know is that's actually like one of the top prizes in what is a Donkey Kong lottery
Sure.
that you can buy a ticket for. And one of the very first stores we went into actually had this lottery. We didn't try it at first in Tokyo, but we went back for it again like after we came back from Universal. We were a little I think we were a little wary getting merch at first because we were like, oh, I don't know how much of this is just going to be at the theme park or whatever.
But by the way, for those who aren't aware of these lottery systems, I believe Bandai is the one behind this particular one. It's Ichiban Kuji. Is that how you pronounce it?
Ichiban Kuji.
Yeah,
Ichiban Kuji. Yes.
Okay.
And
yes.
it's the last one brand, which is
that's essentially the grand prize.
Yeah.
Yeah. This launched back in January.
Mm-hmm. January 17th specifically.
So we did do this lottery. We didn't do it on this day, but I guess we'll talk about it right now. We got a banana bag.
No, we did not get the banana bag. So
I had the banana bag.
You got a banana bag, but that wasn't it's not the banana bag.
Okay, well, what did we get then, Mr. Wise Guy?
We drew two things. The one I drew was actually a very cool DKC Returns inspired shot glass. It's essentially got the images of Donkey and Diddy Kong in like the silhouette levels. I am posting that right now for you to see, Hyle.
So for anyone who knows,
I already know. I did the news article about this on dkvine.com, and I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, but I have it in my hand. I could drink out of this right now.
Well, good for you. Good for you. I'm just saying, you don't need to do any work because I am already on top of it. As you were talking about this.
I will tell anyone who knows how these lottery works, that was an E rank pool.
Yes.
I don't remember what letter Andrew's was, but
I got the K.
Andrew got the letter that gave him access to one of 4 keychains that spelled out Kong that either have Diddy or Donkey on it.
The G prize, yes.
Yes. He got a G prize, so he was able to choose one of the 4 Kong letters. He chose the K with Donkey Kong flexing on it. And that's what he received. And I believe Tate received the one that was one of the 3, like, what are they, like little, not wipes, but
it's like a towel. It's like
a little like
hand
a mini
towel
hand towel. Those 3 include Diddy carrying a big pile of bananas, Donkey Kong throwing the barrel, and then the one with Donkey eating the bananas and Diddy clapping alongside him.
I clap when Donkey Kong eats bananas too.
Yeah, the towel was from the F prize group.
Yes.
Yes.
The F prize.
F prize. Yeah, because you need a towel after you're done.
After you F, yeah. I gotcha.
Wipe up with Donkey
and honestly,
Kong.
like, these are cool things. I'm surprised that there's no like US distributor for these types of like lotteries in America, just like it'd be cool to just pay like $5, do the same thing in America, get one of these things, but like
yeah, there were other lotteries like this for a couple other series. We did one for like Kingdom Hearts or whatever, so like it's not like a BK exclusive thing that they're just running one lottery event, but
I will say it also does seem to be decently popular because most of the places we went to would kind of be a little light on the
On the tickets,
on the
yeah.
little tickets. You'd go there and there'd be a bunch of tickets usually sticking out. And most of the times when we went, there'd only be like maybe three or four sticking out. So like just enough for us to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think will probably make its way to the US and the Americas and Europe and Australia and elsewhere. It just probably like 10 years from now, we're going to be late adopters to a lot of this stuff, but somebody will try it. It'll become a fad for a while. It might be hot for a couple years and then taper off. But I would imagine also it's getting stores on board with it because it would require some infrastructure on their part to actually facilitate these prize lotteries.
I mean, part of the thing with how things are structured in Japan also is that since everything is so centralized to like, I mean, it's not like a huge country, so like they can kind of use that infrastructure to their advantage, and like they can get marketing for like smaller little things like that.
Yeah, I will say in a lot of these stores, there is specifically space in all of these stores that are essentially here's the prize area for like all of these different raffles and drawings. So not only do you have the Donkey Kong stuff there, but you'll have other stuff that are also part of these lotteries there. They just kind of all clump them into one area.
So, really quick, just for the education of our audience, I wanted to list off the full list of prizes from the Donkey Kong Ichiban Kuji line. Because the A prize, and I'm sad neither of you got it, it's the big stuffed banana. Just a big banana with Donkey Kong's face on it and the Donkey Kong logo. By the way, this is Donkey Kong's old design. It's not his new design. This was all released in conjunction with Returns HD. The B prize was a big DK barrel-shaped blanket. You could just drape yourself in a DK barrel. C prize was yet another version of the Donkey Kong DK barrel pen pot, which we've gotten so many of on both sides of the Pacific recently. D prize was a laundry pouch. You could get DK's tie or another banana with Donkey and Diddy on it. E prize was the shot glasses you won. F prize was the towel. G prize was the Kong keychain charms. H prize, a zipper bag memo collection. So you get little memos of Donkey and Diddy. And these actually use the new design too, which is interesting. So it was actually a mix of the new and old designs. But then there was the big prize, the banana stand. And God, I want that banana stand so bad. It's such a...
Yeah, I might be eBaying that sucker.
My bananas always go bad because I don't have a banana stand. Because, they touch your old bananas and then they get old themselves. And then you just got to hang your bananas. But why would I want to hang my bananas on anything that's not Donkey Kong branded?
See, and the thing is, Hyle, anyone who knows the deep Idaho crew lore, we have two pet rats, and they love eating bananas, so they would love fresh bananas from the Donkey Kong banana stand.
That's right. That's right. By the way, there was also a huge banana plush that was like part of... It's called the Double Chance campaign. I don't know how that works, but...
The Double Chance campaign is essentially something that we wanted to try and do, but it requires like making an account with like another Japanese specific.
It probably had a
app.
Japanese address.
It's very specific. We had no time or ability to do that.
Yeah, there were a couple things like that where it's like, oh, it's a little prohibitive that we can't like because we don't have a Japanese address to like send things to.
I do want to give a special shout out to the F prize tier, which were the towel collections that we were mentioning, because two of them, which they did not have, unfortunately, when we did the drawing, were a towel in the shape of DK's tie, and also a towel that is very, was it?
It's like silhouette.
Yeah, it's very horizontal.
It's the loading screen.
Yeah, it's essentially the loading screen.
It's a wide towel with a loading screen.
It's very, very cool ones.
The loading screen from the jungle world.
Yes, with the
Yes.
silhouettes.
I would wipe myself up with that,
yeah,
for
so-
sure.
Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't? Come one, come all.
Don't come on my towel. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
Donkey Kong
what-
uses a sock. Come on.
That's true.
He doesn't. Oh yeah, he does have one big sock.
The big crusty sock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did a whole podcast on that.
I've got about 7 of those.
So the next thing, which is a little bit bigger, we attended something very cool and special. So for about the last decade in Japan, in the town of Shibuya, has been a secret bar that's run by a former Nintendo employee who simply refers to himself as Chokan. And this bar is named 84 Hashi. And it is a very prominent bar for a lot of people because not only is it a secret bar, but it's actually a bar where a lot of current and former Nintendo employees hang out. And so in the recent years since the pandemic, the bar has kind of fallen on some tough times, but essentially in a bid to keep it open, the owner Chokan has decided to open the bar up to tourists and people just interested in knowing about the bar's history, and that is through the 84 tour that can now be done. So if you are not actually a Nintendo employee working at Nintendo, there are specific days that you can go online and request a tour of this bar. And you will be told to meet somewhere that is not the bar because it's a secret bar. They don't want you to know the location. And basically, they will take you with a tour guide and introduce you like all the things in this bar.
This sounds like a great way to get murdered.
You think that, but
The explanation makes it sound seedier than it is because it's actually like a little mini museum of this guy's like
work for Nintendo, and it's honestly a very cool thing to experience. The staff were very kind and polite, and as secretive as it is, it was a very informal thing. So the thing about Chokan is that he worked for Nintendo for about what he said about 25, 30 years before sort of semi-retiring.
long enough to have acquired some things.
Yeah. And one of the things that was pointed out to us from one of our tour guides was that Chokan actually worked on the original Donkey Kong Country. He helped debug the game for Rare.
Oh, well, did you tell him about the way you can hump Donkey Kong?
Unfortunately, we did have to work through a translator, so we couldn't ask certain biting questions. But,
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, you really screwed the pooch on that one.
We know that basically he has kind of a setup of the games he's worked on, like a little shelf. And we noticed Donkey Kong Country, obviously it was the SNES, it was the Super Famicom version, Super Donkey Kong. And so we asked about that, and it's like, yes, he was a debugger at the time. He helped debug a lot of games, including the first Donkey Kong Country.
and he was specifically mentioning like the old style of debugging where they would send you like a sheet with like the code basically like, and you would, how did he describe it? You would basically like actually physically like scratch out certain pieces of the code to have changed and stuff, and it sounds like the most tedious way to debug anything in the world.
But he was there in the trenches before release doing it, so
And
God bless him.
And on that day, we wore our Rarer shirts. We wore the wireframe and the modern logo. And they noticed that, and they said that someone from Rare had visited just the previous day.
Yes, and so this was an interesting thing to discover. we did discover, because at the end of your visit, you are asked to basically sign a little notebook, which a lot of people sign.
Shibuya, roll call. Sorry, I had to get that in there.
Yeah, and we did look through the book, and we did notice that like 2 or 3 days before we had been there was somebody from Rare who had visited.
And they drew Donkey Kong in the guest book.
They drew Donkey Kong. They mentioned how much fun they had. Let me find that image. It'll take just a minute. We have
Well, it's taken you
lot
100
of
years, so-
Donkey Kong images to share.
I'm seeing you slowly scroll through your phone, and it looks kind of pathetic, honestly.
So it's
I'm just
right
going to
there.
invent. I'm just going to make
So-
up who from Rare it was. Craig Duncan.
No, it seems like he actually hasn't been there for that long. It seems like he only started about a year or two ago. His name is Alex Christo. He seems to be a developer on Sea of Thieves, on the Sea of Thieves team. But as you can see from the image we just posted in the chat, the staff chat, he was thanking them for the warm welcome. He drew the Rare logo. He drew a nice little photo of Donkey Kong. And so that was a neat thing to discover.
Well, there you go. Donkey Kong coming to Sea of Thieves. I think that's a confirmation. A little
Yeah.
hint of season 17, maybe? Sea of Thieves?
You'll have to wait another year and a half. They might be even saving it for another 3 years when they have their 10th anniversary. But this is pretty I'd say set in stone, and everyone get very excited for Donkey Kong and Sea of Thieves. No.
Xbox Showcase is coming up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, as we know, Xbox does own Donkey Kong. Everyone's favorite story of the Xbox.
Don't make me break out Malik's video again.
We're gonna get a stern talking to after this.
Malik is screaming right now.
One other thing that happened with the 84 Hashi is that Tate was wearing a ukulele shirt, and Chokon did not recognize it, and the translator had to very briefly explain what it was, so I guess ukulele maybe not as prevalent.
Not as prevalent, but essentially, I think what the translator essentially told him was along the lines of some of the people who made Banjo-Kazooie made this, and he seemed to understand that. And he did seem to be aware of Banjo-Kazooie. That seemed to, spark a little something in him. Banjo. Okay.
Put a little pep in his step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool that you got to go to a secret Nintendo speakeasy.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Honestly, I feel like it was one of the big highlights of our trip. Honestly, thinking back on it, even after Universal, we're I really enjoyed that bar. Just really nice, friendly people, great atmosphere, just a lot of casual fun to be had.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cheers.
Now, you went on the tour, but my other question is, did you have anything to drink there?
We did. I had a special drink called the it was like a hashi cocktail. Honestly, I don't think there was much alcohol content in it, but just a little dip along
kick.
Just a little kick to help you out. And, honestly, pretty good. They also had some really good chicken curry that I tried. So, very hospitable. They gave us lots of Japanese snacks.
Yeah, it was a nice experience, and the people there also were very helpful for our visit to the Nintendo Museum because they gave us
a lot of tips.
Yeah, they basically said, okay, if you want to do everything at the Nintendo Museum, do this first, and then do this, and then do this, because otherwise you won't have time to do everything. And that was a very helpful thing for them to do.
It was very helpful because we were just barely able to get everything done in the Nintendo Museum. It was a very busy day.
Yeah, and their advice was genuinely helpful.
Is it like Hideout Helm where you have a countdown timer when you enter the museum?
So the thing about the Nintendo Museum is that it's got it's not open very late.
Yes, I believe they close around 7 o'clock.
And we got there around noon.
We were the 2 o'clock, 2:30
yeah.
crowd. I do want to say before we get any more into the Nintendo Museum, there is one more thing to mention before we did that, and that is the fan gamer Gigo pop-up that they had in Shibuya as well. So Gigo is essentially a brand of like arcades that you can go to in Japan, formerly Sega arcades. But in this specific one in Shibuya, they are currently having a collaboration with Fangamer where Fangamer has a little pop-up store and you can basically buy Fangamer merch there without having to, buy it online.
In case people aren't aware, like pop-up stores are like very common in Japan. They're basically like very limited time, like they go in and it's like a couple weeks that store is here and then it's gone.
It's like Spirit Halloween, but more universal.
Yeah, it'll be like it's the I don't know, like the One Piece pop-up store, and it'll be like, okay, like a specific themed, like a game or anime or whatever.
Yeah, in fact, when we were leaving, one of the final days we were in Japan, they had a Dragon Ball Z pop-up store at a train station, and we had been to that train station almost every day, and that specific day, all of a sudden, it's like Dragon Ball pop-up store
there now. So
Yep.
like, yeah,
It's
and
going to be
that's
here
like
for
all
like
over.
3 days, and then it'll be gone.
Yeah, that was like all over Tokyo. Was like there was just a bunch of stuff just popping up.
Yeah, Japan loves doing like collaborations and like pop-up stores. There's a lot to do in Japan. So even if like you go there not expecting to see something you're potentially interested in, there might be something that just like a pop-up store that just pops up while you're there and it's like, oh, cool. I never expected this. Sort of comes out of nowhere.
And Fangamer popped up.
Yes,
in front of you.
Fangamer's been there, I think,
Well, I think
a couple of months at this point.
I think they started as a pop-up store and then like became like a more permanent fixture or something because I think they are like instated in that.
They just forgot to close.
Well, I think that location's been there for a year at this point or something. It's definitely a popular section though, and one of the interesting things about what they've chosen to showcase in the Fangamer pop-up store, obviously they can't have everything there, but I would say a quarter of the section is dedicated to the rare merchandise that they sell.
Yep, so
in their collaboration with Rare. So they have the Rare Racer pins that you can still get there.
the wireframe backpack.
Nice.
The wireframe backpack, the wireframe logo pin. You've got Banjo-Kazooie stationery. You've got Banjo-Kazooie like binder set.
And they have a
Like-
spot where you can like draw like there you're meant to like leave messages and stuff and like there were people that like drew Banjo and Kazooie.
Yep, people were drawing Banjo. Andrew drew Conker.
I drew a very ugly Conker because I forgot how to draw him, but it's fine.
But yeah, there were little Banjo-Kazooie yen purses that you could buy, like just a little bag to put your yen in, and it's got just a nice
A
little.
little granny pouch for holding pennies.
But yeah, you got Banjo-Kazooie on that. It's surprisingly a big showcase of Rare, and it does seem like this, despite it obviously not being as big as it is in America, there is still a pretty big Rare presence in Japan that is pretty understated. Lots of people seem to still very much like Rare, and as you will find out in just a couple minutes with the Nintendo Museum, there's not a lot of shyness about like talking about Rare's history with Nintendo.
I think the fables that we have heard that this stuff is just not popular in Japan is what a lot of Western Nintendo fans told themselves and kind of reinforced among each other. And there's various like origin points where the myth that Miyamoto hates Rare or hates Donkey Kong Country, or, because it's Western developed.
Miyamoto hates Donkey Kong Country so much that he decided that the next expansion for their billion-dollar theme park would be Donkey Kong Country, just to spite himself.
That's just a coincidence. Like, he didn't mean that Donkey Kong Country. He was talking about another Donkey Kong Country. But I think like this is some buyout era drama for sure, but I also think it's because if you are, and there's various terminologies people use to define themselves. An older one would be Japanophile. I think weeb is more current, but if you are into Japanese culture and Japanese media, then you're not going to have as much interest in, say, video games developed in the English Midlands. And so you're going to just disassociate that with Japanese culture because you are viewing it as from an outside perspective. And you're ignoring the fact that in Japan, they can like whatever the fuck they want to like, and it has nothing to do with anything. And like, I've seen that with Rare, Donkey Kong, DKU fandom, like running the social media channel. Like, some of the best interactions I've ever had on social media are with the hardcore Japanese fans of all of this nonsense. And it was kind of eye-opening for me to have those misconceptions shattered. And just misconceptions from what I've been told from other Nintendo fans.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the things I'll say is, like, there was a day where we were just, like, kind of exploring and thrifting, and we walk into, like, just a small little thrift shop, and we immediately clock that this tiny little store is just playing Banjo-Kazooie music. You can just hear the Spiral Mountain music.
I've never gone into a store and heard Banjo-Kazooie music, because that would probably get me to buy something.
It's not like you can walk into like a Best Buy or like a J.C. Penney here in America and just all of a sudden they're playing like Freeze Easy Peak.
J.C. Penney? When's the last time you've been in J.C. Penney?
Yesterday, because we went to the mall.
There's not a lot in that J.C. Penney, but it's still there. God bless it.
It was just right next to parking.
Okay. Oh, well, you just cut through the J.C. Penney.
Yeah, you cut through the J.C. Penney to get to the pretzel shop.
You cut right through it to get to the pretzel shop. That's
get
the
to
more
Annie
important
S.
aspect.
It was actually Wetzel pretzels. So
Wetzel pretzel. Oh, okay. Wild.
So yeah, what else did we do?
I think that does bring us to our Osaka venture, which is probably the most Nintendo heavy. Oh, actually, no. We completely forgot about the Nintendo store in Shibuya.
Oh yeah,
we need to talk about. So Nintendo, one of Nintendo's main Nintendo stores is located in Shibuya. And we decided to take a peek over there since it was right essentially at this mall that they have in Shibuya. The top floor is basically dedicated to gaming, essentially. So you've got the Pokemon store, you've got the Nintendo store, the Capcom store, Square Enix, you've got the Jump store. It's all there in one place, essentially. Just buy to your heart's content. And the Nintendo store is the biggest. It's kind of like smack dab in the middle of that area. And they had a lot of cool stuff. To continue off of the Rare stuff, there was Rare merch inside the Nintendo store. They had every single amiibo available to purchase, which includes Banjo and Kazooie. So there is official Banjo-Kazooie merch that you can buy at a Nintendo store in Japan. And, you know, it seemed like they sell pretty consistently there since they have to keep up stock for so many people. But they also kind of had a very cool little thing in like, there's sort of like an advertisement area. And one of the advertisements is for Smash Brothers Ultimate. And at first, it just seems kind of like a regular print ad, but when you unfurl it and look on the back, it is a complete poster of the Everyone is Here banner. And this one includes all the DLC characters.
Oh, wow.
And it does include Banjo and Kazooie on it. So, you know,
nice.
that's just kind of a free pamphlet you can take. So more Banjo-Kazooie Rare merch than we expected to see, but yes, it is there at an official Nintendo store that you can get.
And King K. Rool, lest we forget.
King K. Rool, Donkey, Diddy, the whole Megillah.
Well, okay, but Donkey and Diddy, you're gonna get that on lots of merchandise.
Yeah, and speaking of Donkey and Diddy, they do have a Donkey Kong section now of that store where you can get, you know, Donkey and Diddy hoodies. You can get Donkey Kong shirts, which we were wearing during our week there. Nice, very nice, like felt shirts with Donkey Kong's new redesign on it, of him just like flexing.
This merchandise you're referring to, and the fact that they have a Donkey Kong section now, this all launched the same week as the lottery stuff. It was the day of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD's release, but also the day of the Switch 2, I guess, preview teaser trailer, and the day we finally reconciled with the fact that, oh yeah, Donkey Kong's got a redesign. They launched all this Donkey Kong merchandise, including, as you said, a Donkey Kong fleece hoodie, a Diddy Kong fleece jumper, which they brought some of this stuff over to the West. They did not bring the Diddy Kong fleece jumper, which I might actually wear if I got my hands on it. I mean, it looks it makes it look like you're wearing Diddy Kong's skin, but it's like modeled after his torso.
Unfortunately, multiple Diddy Kongs were skinned to make these jackets. But boy,
Yeah,
do they
that's
look
fine.
very nice.
The Donkey Kong t-shirt you're talking about is yellow, and it's got like a raised like felt design of Donkey Kong on it, and his ass on the back.
Yes,
The ass was the good part.
the iconic ass. There's also like a little hand towel of Donkey Kong on like a Hanafuda card. That's
Mhm.
very nice. It's got him like sort of in a minecart, sort of careening off. I'm sending some pictures right now. They're taking a while to upload, but I believe they will be uploaded shortly. But they also have plushes of Donkey and Diddy themselves. They have little keychains of Donkey and Diddy.
And they have the banana bag, which is what I remembered buying earlier.
Yes, they have a smaller. They have a smaller banana bag. They do also have like different shot glasses there of like the Donkey and Diddy redesigns, which are very cool. They have a big Donkey Kong backpack in the shape of a barrel that you can wear.
Which we did, in fact, buy.
We did buy, and it did help us in the long run to bring back more stuff because hacking is a whole different story that we don't have to get into. But let's just say Andrew was putting his Tetris skills and his Tetris 99 skills to very good use in order to get everything that we got home.
And we did buy the big barrel plush here, right?
No, I believe
that's
that was
it.
actually Universal.
Oh, is that
but
a
we will get
Universal?
to
I don't
that.
know. I don't remember when things happened.
So you bought the DK barrel bag, but you didn't buy the DK barrel cushion with the hole in it.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one of the things. We did get that, but I believe actually,
okay.
let me check. No, that was the Nintendo Store. It's still
Okay,
got
so
the
I'm not crazy.
Yeah, no, it's still got the Nintendo Store stuff on it. So,
Yeah, so we did get that.
yes.
Yeah, see, I have
we-
the right
we
in your
did.
photo, right?
Oh, okay, it just hadn't loaded. Yeah. So yeah,
Okay,
big again. It just goes to show us big Donkey Kong push by Nintendo in Japan. Not only that, but it wasn't only us buying that. There were constantly lots of people flocking to that area to check out the Donkey Kong merch and to grab it, you know. And
Yes.
not only that, but when you enter the Nintendo store, there is a big screen that is playing lots of Nintendo related media. And since we're in the build up to Switch 2, they were playing through two things. One, the Mario Kart World overview trailer, and two, the Donkey Kong Bonanza trailer, were both
Nice.
on loop. So it would essentially go Mario Kart overview trailer and then Donkey Kong Bonanza. And we were there. We got there just in time going up the escalator that we saw the Donkey Kong Bonanza trailer right smack on a big ass Nintendo screen just to greet us. Donkey Kong was welcoming us with his big hairy chest and open giant arms. And so, yeah, just lots of Donkey Kong right now. Even 2 months before launch, you know, Donkey Kong has a major presence and is really being pushed, you know, as a big pillar of Nintendo right now.
Just as we said he would be for all these several years. We've been discussing this moment that we were building up to. So it's nice to see. It's nice to have that validation, not just for us, but for the Donkey Kong faithful, the ones who have just waited patiently for Donkey Kong's moment in the sun.
Yeah, and obviously this is a very gratifying thing to finally experience after beating the drum for, say, 8 years.
Beating the DK bongos.
Yes, panning on those bongos for the last 8 years really gets your arms tired. But boy, when it pays out, it pays out.
Well, my arms are experts at that kind of motion, so
That's why you got all the towels.
Yeah. That's why we needed to buy those DK Hanafuda towels. We had to borrow Tate's Donkey Kong lottery towels as well.
yeah.
We just make a mess.
We were very messy.
Yeah, we can't be expected to not make a mess. We're just going to blow things everywhere, unfortunately.
Say we're
Oh
going
my
to blow.
God.
All
All
right.
right. Taking it too far. This is, after all, a family podcast for children and little babies.
This is the first I'm hearing of that. Anyways, I guess we now move on to Osaka now.
We rode a train.
Yeah. We got to ride the Shinkansen, which is a bullet train. And essentially, you can get anywhere with that bullet train. You can go halfway across the country and it'll only take about 3 hours. Fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the big day of the Nintendo Museum. Oh, did you have any questions, Hyle?
No, I'm just yeah, like efficient public transportation. I don't want to belabor the point, but this is what we could have if if the automobile lobbyist and certain billionaires didn't push their thumb against the scales and keep this from happening.
Oh yeah, like that's one of the things I'm just most jealous of. Like they just know how to do transportation in Japan. Like they've got it down pat. Just everything is like perfect there. If you need to get somewhere, it is so easy to get there. And like it'll probably only cost you somewhere between like $3 to $5 to get wherever you need to be.
That's USD, not yen, right?
Yeah.
It's like 100 yen, to ride a stop to a train station.
But
still.
well, the Shinkansen was it was like $150. But
Yeah, it was the Shinkansen is more expensive, but even the more local train lines, just expertly crafted, just perfectly done. I wish we had something like that here in Idaho. Let me tell you about Idaho transportation.
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't really exist. Near our house, like if you walk maybe like 5 minutes, there's a bus station that maybe will.
I think it'll get you to Boise.
It'll get you to like downtown Boise, but it only comes every like hour or hour and a half.
Yeah,
And
that sucks.
And the thing is, it only takes you downtown and nowhere else. So
yeah,
like,
I lived in Los Angeles for 3 months without a car, so I am fully aware of the pratfalls of public transportation where it can take you 3 hours to get 5 miles because the bus route is just so convoluted and seemingly without logic, and there's nothing better in place.
but yeah, you'd think hearing like, oh yeah, we had to go from Tokyo to Osaka in one day. You'd think like, oh, that's the whole day. You're not going to be able to do anything. Nope. It took 3 hours. It took 3 hours for us to take a train from Tokyo to Osaka, and the rest of the day was still ours. But and that day was spent at the Nintendo Museum, which we have been alluding to. It's a big push by Nintendo. For the last, I'd say, 8 months. They opened it in October, and we got to experience it, which was a very fun thing. Not that, but because we did some online prep work before we headed there, when our play cards printed, which is essentially like a form of ID that you use at the Nintendo Museum, we were able to have the play cards with our Mii's on it.
Yeah,
because we had
you can
connected
put
our
your Mii's
Nintendo
on it.
accounts.
They do unfortunately have a thing that's like you know, you got to keep your Mii's appropriate or whatever. So we didn't want to do anything funny.
Well, you shouldn't do anything funny with your Mii's because the Mii's are a representation of you interacting with Donkey Kong and friends.
The thing about it though is that it's a representation of Peter Griffin with his famous chin. And
Don't like that. Don't like that for numerous reasons. But
Yes, Nintendo has stipulations in place to make sure you are not using a photo of Peter Griffin.
yeah, as they should. Bravo, Nintendo. So yeah, you did your online prep work. You found the secret speakeasy in the Nintendo Museum. Where is it?
So it's not necessarily a secret speakeasy in the Nintendo Museum, but they do have a cafe area. It's called Hatena Burger, and there's nothing really Donkey Kong related there necessarily, but just got
No
some
gorilla meat.
no gorilla meat, but there is a large variety of burger options, including vegan and vegetarian options. So you could probably actually eat at Hatena Burger if you ever decided to go to the Nintendo Museum. Kyle?
Okay, I'll decide some other point. I'm not going today.
Well, it's I don't we haven't discussed it, but it is not so easy to get into the Nintendo Museum. So we were actually very lucky to get in because one of the things you have to do is you have to enter yourself into a lottery. And
everything in
Oh,
Japan
well,
is
they
a
love the
lottery.
lotteries. Yeah.
lots of things in Japan are on a lottery reservation system. And so for the Nintendo Museum, not only do you have to put yourself into a lottery, you have to do it 2 months in advance. So depending on when you want to go, you have to make a lottery entry for 2 months prior. So since we did it in May, we had to apply in March. So, and what you do when you're applying, you have to have your Nintendo account ready. You have to have a credit card or debit card ready. You choose 3 days that you would like to go to the Nintendo Museum, and then you choose certain time frames that you would like to go. You select those dates and time frames, and then I think within a week or 3 to 4, within a month, they will get back to you and either say, "Hi, you've been accepted into the Nintendo Museum. We have selected this specific date and time for you to attend."
Or they'll send you an email that just says, fuck you don't get to go.
Yeah, you can either get one of those two. And the Idaho crew got lucky because all three of us separately decided to take this chance, and we all got accepted in. So only one of us had to accept the offer, and that was me. So we got 3 tickets for the day of the 14th at 2 o'clock, and it was very easy once you get there. Although I will say, lots of security around the Nintendo Museum. If you are going to the Nintendo Museum, you got to make sure you actually have a ticket because they seem to be playing a pretty hardball there. They
had a
locked
TSA
down.
line. They had it. Yeah. Like we had to.
The first half is to make sure you're not using any Peter Griffin photos, but the second half is just to enforce and make sure that you are there because you have a ticket.
Can I ask when you found out you'd be admitted? Was it before you went to Japan, or was it like when you were there?
Before we went.
Yeah,
Okay.
Basically you do it 2 months in advance, and then they tell you the month after. So because we did it in March for May, we got our response at the start of April.
Okay, that's not so bad.
And yeah, they are very open about it. You are also, when you are told that you have been accepted, you are given a week to respond, essentially, to buy your ticket. The only thing that I can see being a bit of a problem for most people when you get accepted in America is that they basically randomize a phone number that you have to call. But the main problem with most US people is that it is a Japanese phone number. So unless you have an international plan, it is actually a bit of a problem to actually call and
Yeah, we had to
confirm
like
your
use
existence.
we had to like use like an online service to like make a phone call.
We essentially used a Skype type service, not Skype, because
Skype is dead.
they're 10 feet in the ground. But we used
10 feet?
something.
Wow, that's a deep grave.
Oh yeah, they dug that grave deep. They buried Skype. They are not letting them out.
It's because they had to buy Donkey Kong for Sea of Thieves as announced at the Xbox showcase, and all that money had to, come out of the budget somewhere, and unfortunately, it was Skype.
Skype was on the chopping block.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used something called Rakuten Viber. And they basically have a thing where you can buy international minutes. So we basically did a free trial of international calling on this service to make a Japanese phone call. And you call the phone number, you essentially get immediately hung up, but that dial tone is enough to basically give the confirmation when you link your phone number to that Rakuten account.
Every time we describe one of these things, it sounds like the seediest shit in the world. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It does take a lot, but I would say it's mostly worth it.
I want to say really quick hello to Porygon Q and Freezer who have joined us in the live stream. Porygon Q says, "This is awesome." And Freezer says, "Tell Hyle about the nice lady at the ramen place."
I think Hyle was in the chat when we told that story back on Tuesday.
maybe. If not, we'll gladly retell it on the conversation. It's very funny.
We can tell it near the end of the conversation if we have time.
I didn't hear about it, so I like hearing stories about nice ladies.
Yeah, this was probably my favorite story of the Japan trip, like in general. So we will definitely tell it at the end of the podcast.
All right,
Okay.
you can be the one to tell that.
Okay.
So, back to the Nintendo Museum, though. It is a very well-crafted museum. From what I had heard a couple months prior, I heard they were very stingy on taking photos, but it seems like in the past couple of months they have eased up on something like that. Mostly due to like the fact that a lot of people do want to take photos of what's there. And it's, obviously they can only try to stop people so much from it. But the only place essentially that you can't take photos at the Nintendo Museum at this point is the main museum exhibit hall, which is the second floor, where they have most of the exhibits.
It's where they skin the Diddy Kongs.
Yeah, where they skin the Diddy Kongs to make the Diddy Kong coats for the Nintendo store.
I could see why they would keep that under wraps.
Yeah, they don't want anyone knowing about that stuff. But unfortunately, there are no NDAs, so you can only talk about the horrors of it.
So the very first thing we did was we signed up to make Hanafuda cards.
Yes, which is important. Because, that's part of Nintendo's history, almost 200-year history, started out manufacturing Hanafuda cards. And you know what? It was a very fun experience to, learn how to make them and paint them and all that fun stuff, gluing them onto each other.
So we did have our host for that event. There was a bit of a language barrier with the person assigned to helping us. And it was a little funny because we had basically two competing hosts trying to tell us to sit down at different places. And so Adam wasn't paying attention when he was being told to be sitting somewhere else. And so the only way he knew how to refer to him was by his shirt, which had Donkey Kong on it. And so he says, Donkey,
Yeah.
I'm going to go this way.
Yeah, I was referred to as Donkey.
Yeah, he was Donkey. So, and they were asking, he was kind of asking about, because I was wearing the rare shirt again. We had, we only had a couple pairs of shirts we brought. So
I hope did you ever wash these shirts or?
yeah,
Yes.
we had
a washer in our Airbnb. Don't worry, we were
very clean.
We were not smelly
Okay.
Americans running around.
It was not stinky Idaho cruise summer.
Okay.
So
good.
the thing about it was, so to explain my shirt, we said Super Donkey. And so I became Super Donkey for that. Um,
Mm.
And that seems to be what most people refer to Donkey Kong as, Super Donkey.
yeah, when they're talking about the BKC series, they say Super Donkey. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so the Nintendo Museum itself, it had like a big banner with all of the like a bunch of characters for Nintendo history, and very prominently featured.
Were Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Country characters. You've got King K. Rool there, front and center. You've got Donkey and Diddy. You've got Dixie. You've got the whole, like I said previously, you got the whole Magilla there. Cranky Kong's there, lots of renders of Donkey Kong Country, again, King K. Rool prominently shown in this big collage of Nintendo characters that Nintendo loves. And, I've got a couple pics that I can upload of this. This is on like the base floor right before you ascend the staircase into the main exhibit hall area. And it's a nice collage of like all of Nintendo history there.
They didn't have like any DKC like specific displays, but they did have like a little like 25M like
There
thing hanging on the ceiling.
on the
Yeah.
first floor near the gift shop, if you look up, there will be like a giant 8-bit Donkey Kong just there on like a girder with a barrel. Um, but yeah, let me find these. There are lots of photos I have to dig through. I guess before we go up to the second floor, though, we have oh, here they are. There was a big old gift shop that we also went to first.
That's where they have like the Brothers Bear plushes and the
Oh, yes.
glimmer flashlight.
They did have like mugs of like a bunch of consoles, shirts.
They got a lot of stickers that you can do from all different sort of consoles.
So the
They have a lot of stuff that sort of interlocks with the Nintendo store, but those aren't the exclusives. And Hyle, this is where I want to say that we actually got you some stuff. We
What?
didn't tell you, but we have I have an image here of two things we got you. So one is a mug, and two is a big sticker that I think you will really enjoy. They both have to do with some of your favorite parts of Nintendo history.
Oh my
You
god.
can look
Oh
at
my
that right
god.
now. So we got you a Virtual Boy mug and a giant, I can't believe they sold this, a giant galactic pinball sticker.
A galactic pinball sticker with the box art of galactic pinball, which for those who aren't aware, let me explain because this is pretty esoteric at this point.
It's
Not that
inside
it
baseball.
ever wasn't. Yeah, it's inside pinball. So the Virtual Boy was a system released in 1995. Utter failure. Nintendo's biggest failure ever. Although I'm not sure if they invested as much capital into it as they did the Wii U, but it was still a huge, huge flop. And that being said, I have a Virtual Boy. I got a Virtual Boy when they started to go on clearance around maybe 97, I want to say, but one of the only Virtual Boy games released was a game called Galactic Pinball. And despite it not being DKU, it's actually part of the Metroid universe because Samus Aran appears in it. But despite all of that, I have such affinity for this game. And it kind of loomed large in DK Vine's early history because the entire staff at the time had Virtual Boys and had Galactic Pinball. And oh my god, I can't believe this is even made because Nintendo historically, famously, has ignored the Virtual Boy ever since.
Virtual Boy was very prominently on display here.
Yes, that is something I will say about this Nintendo Museum. They very prominently are open about all parts of Nintendo history.
They showed even their failures.
They are very open about the failures. They didn't say publicly that there were failures, but obviously there is even inside on the second floor, there is a history of Nintendo and stereoscopic 3D exhibit that you can look at. And there are Virtual Boy goggles that you can look inside. And when you look inside, it will be playing Galactic Pinball. And you can look at
Oh my
Galactic
God.
Pinball footage.
That is
So
amazing. Yeah.
you put your eyes into these goggles and you are just looking at Virtual Boy footage.
Of course, I always wanted a Donkey Kong game for the Virtual Boy, and I mean, we know like Rare briefly toyed around with it. Paul Makachek was on the Kongversation last season, and he tooled around with doing kind of like a Donkey Kong game on the Virtual Boy. Didn't get far, but yeah, it's one of my biggest laments as a fan is there are no DKU games on the Virtual Boy. It's one area where Wario has us beat, just hands down. So this is amazing. You didn't have to get me. Okay, so like I was like thinking, should I ask them to pick up a Virtual Boy mug for me? And I was like, that would be gauche. I decided like, no, you know what? This is their trip. I'm not going to.
I will say this, Hyle, you are not the only one that we had to get souvenirs for. We had several people, so
We got souvenirs for a lot of the Idaho crew.
yeah. So don't feel too bad.
Well, I'm not feeling bad, but like I didn't want to ask you because I was like, I'm sure Cameron and Dustin come first.
Hyle, we had a feeling that you would be a little shy about asking it, which is why we did want to get you these things, because, like, we know how much this stuff means to you, and God bless your soul, you put so much effort into this site.
Yeah, we
And
are
to
the
this
foremost Galactic
podcast.
Pinball fans, so
And, like, we wanted to give you a little something to say, like, hey, Hyle, you're doing a good job, kid. Keep it up.
Freezer says, "What'd you get everyone else?" We got Dustin a little Goku. He's like a pirate.
Yeah, we got
Uh,
Dustin a lot of stuff.
We got
We got Cameron a big thing, a big expensive thing.
it's a launch on a motorcycle from Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Was this from the Dragon Ball pop-up store?
No.
No. So this was actually we did actually get some Donkey Kong stuff here, but it was like a secondhand shop. I guess we'll talk about our thrift shopping in a little bit because we did a lot of thrift shopping and we found some weird things.
Yeah, we still got a lot to talk about this museum.
So on those stickers, so they did have, it was basically like, okay, you pay, what was it, like 10, 20 bucks or something? It was like 2,000 yen or something?
I think it was something like 10 stickers for like $10 or something like that. But like the price was like fixed at a certain point. So
Yeah, so like
you're
you get the same price no matter how many stickers you get. So you pick out 10 basically.
yeah. And we did pick out a decent amount of stickers.
They had Donkey Kong Country Returns,
Which is just Donkey Kong Returns.
They had Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze,
Which is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
what else do they have? Was it Mario Kart?
They have the Famicom version of the original arcade Donkey Kong. That's there. We got a Star Fox 64. The Japanese version of Star Fox 64 they have. What else? Virtual Boy Wario Land also there. We got that.
You couldn't pay me to remember what every one of these games was, but
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of them, but like, yeah, Donkey Kong still in that batch. You know, you can get both Tropical Freeze and Returns as big stickers, which we definitely did. I mean, it's already been known, but you know, the Tropical Freeze has kind of different font to it a little bit. You know, it gets rid of the country, and even the Tropical Freeze logo of it is a tad different. than in the
we'll talk
US.
about branding when we get to the Nintendo. When we get
When
to
you get to
Super
Super
Nintendo
Nintendo
World.
World. But yeah, one of the main things about the second floor is the exhibit area. And this exhibit area does, in fact, have a lot of Donkey Kong and even Rare acknowledgement. And so, any sort of area you look, you will see something DKU related. Whether that be Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie playing out of speakers and on TVs in the N64 area.
So they basically had like a thing where like the TVs were set up in a way that it was like directional microphone or not directional speakers that you could only hear when you were standing directly under the display. And some of the ones in rotation were Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64.
Yep.
They had a Donkey Kong Land on one of them.
You could sometimes on the back of the exhibits for the consoles, they would play old commercials also. In the Game Boy Advance area, you can watch a Donkey Kong Country 2 GBA commercial. Not only that, they go through like all the different variants of colors that a lot of the consoles had. Unfortunately, I think they did not showcase the banana yellow N64 controller, did they?
If I don't think they did. We didn't see it if they did. The museum did actually seem pretty complete with like a lot of the stuff that it had. So I was kind of surprised to have a notable absence.
So the biggest absence, I would say, rare-wise, comes in the form of Conquer.
Well,
there was
first
no
let's display.
Conquer
Hold on.
anywhere.
So first, let's just explain what the game displays were like. So basically, the biggest part of this museum is like a lineup of basically like the entire game library. And they would have like one has Japan box art, US box art, and then like European box art. And they would even showcase games that didn't get released in Japan. And so it would just say, oh, like this game only released in certain territories or whatever. But notably, some games that I didn't see were, I don't think It's Mr. Pants was there. We looked for it. And we didn't see either Conquer game, which probably does have to do with the M rating and the fact that there's alcohol.
Weirdly, though, Young Conquer was there, and I can't believe that out of all of them.
So, but yeah, like I was saying, big rare showcase. You know, obviously one of the biggest things to dance around in recent years with the N64 and in terms of its history is like, you sort of can't talk about it or have a collection of N64 things without having Rare there as a big presence, since they, for the most part, kind of saved the N64 from being a complete failure, you know?
I mean, Rare is the N64 to me. Like,
and so, yeah, just very much seeing such an openness in the Nintendo Museum where you walk in and in that area, you can immediately see gameplay footage of Banjo-Kazooie on the TVs and Banjo-Tooie, Diddy Kong Racing. You know, they have a section where they even show Perfect Dark. Just being able to see with your own eyes, like Banjo-Kazooie footage playing in this Nintendo Museum. And like they play for like a minute and a half. They show you a decent chunk before they like move to the next game. It's
Frieza says, did they show the rare cow? Don't think so.
Unfortunately not. But like, yeah, they were not shy about showing off all the rare games. Even when you go back downstairs to the first floor, there's sort of like a relaxation area that you can sit in for a while. And in that area is a bunch of like strategy guides for lots of games. And we saw a lot of strategy guides, including Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Diddy Kong Racing, all the DKCs, you know. They are very prominently shown as like, yes, these are important parts of Nintendo history that we value, that Nintendo wouldn't be Nintendo without.
I thought you were going to say because it's the relaxation area that they have somebody dressed as Bottles the Mole there to give you shoulder rubs.
I mean, they have that also, but like, I didn't want to make a big deal about it. Everyone knows that section of the museum. It's been chronicled pretty thoroughly.
Oh, I must have missed it, but okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. No, don't mention it.
So the thing with the Nintendo Museum also is that every ticket comes with 10, what are they, play coins. And so some of the things you could do, there were like Game & Watch games on the walls that you could play with your shadow, which was kind of cool. There were, I think they had like the giant consoles that,
they had giant consoles where you and one other person tried to basically beat a certain aspect of a game, but with a giant controller.
I wanted to do the Mario 64 one, but the line for that was always endless. So.
It was a very endless line. So instead, we did a Wii remote, a giant Wii remote, and did the Wii Sports Resort Woohoo Island flyover. Still fun. They did have try to beat the first level of Donkey Kong Arcade there. We did not do that, but there is one of the other sections is sort of a virtual console type area where you can basically play NSO games. And both Andrew and Tate took it upon themselves to play Donkey Kong Country 1. And I believe this is where the advertising image you used from the other day comes in, because, Andrew, would you like to take this section?
Yeah, we had to remember how to make Donkey Kong hump himself. So that was fun. We kind of just we were running out of time, so we were like, oh, how can we kill the next whatever? And so we just left that on the screen with Donkey Kong humping himself at the Nintendo Museum for our basically the duration of the 10-minute cooldown or 10-minute timer they give you. So that was fun.
I bet you were the only people who exploited that glitch, that bug in Donkey Kong Country at the Nintendo Museum.
If we weren't, I'm still gonna claim that we were.
Yeah, that's a fine thing to claim.
Yeah,
it's something to be proud of at the very least.
Yeah, we could not do that,
We also took it upon ourselves to do the glitch in Mario World where you clone Yoshi and then it bugs the game out. So that was fun too, but I know
You're
that's
just
not
breaking the
relevant.
Nintendo Museum left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, really putting it through its paces, stress testing it, making sure it's Idaho proof. And you know what? It still didn't crash.
When we went to E3 2015 and we just put Grab by the Ghoulies on all the Rare Replay demos, just, we're going to leave our taint on all of this.
There's only so much Ghoulies that E3 can handle before it decides to not exist anymore.
Yeah, it took about 5 years, but it finally did them in.
You wore it down.
Is there anything else at the Nintendo Museum that's worth...
What were the bathrooms like? What were the bathrooms of the Nintendo Museum like?
So, unfortunately, we weren't as lucky as you. There were no Miyamoto pissing sites.
But hold on, though. Hyle, have you ever tried a Japanese toilet?
I would love to. They sound fantastic.
Well, I mean, let me tell you, once you have water squirted up your asshole, you never want to wipe any other way again.
It's on record how much I despise defecation. It's just filthy business. It's the sin of eating.
Yeah, no, Japan has this shit figured out. I mean, no pun intended.
Quite literally, in fact, they have shit figured out.
Yeah, you have a button you can press. There's 3 settings for it for the water for the water pressure. So you can have it squirt lightly up your asshole or harshly up your asshole.
The 3 settings, by the way, are Donkey Kong, Super Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
That's true.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Well, no, those are the heat options.
I was gonna say the third option was Super Kong.
Yeah, you have someone help you out in the You have to die enough times to make Professor Chops wave the flag at you.
Yeah, Professor Chops will come and wipe your ass for you.
I mean, thank you, Chops Sensei. I would love if bidets were more standardized here.
Not just the bidets. So here's the other thing about Japanese toilets. They have seat warmers. You can they also play sounds, so you can play bird noises to cover up your disgusting shit noise.
Yes.
And this is almost every toilet.
Yes,
they're all like this.
There is actually a privacy setting which will play noises for you.
It'll play bird sounds.
We almost got to this level during the pandemic when toilet paper was running short, and people were like, well, what if we do it the Japanese way and just have these amazing shitting experiences where water is shot up into your ass and birds serenade you during the whole process, but then big toilet paper, those lobbyists came in and they said, no, absolutely not.
I appreciate it for a different reason because one time I had ass surgery and had bidets are the only way you can get it done because it's just too painful. So I'm glad that's not a thing anymore.
Also, like, it works better than using a piece of, like, loose one-ply paper to, like, wipe your asshole with.
Yeah,
Like, just water shooting directly up your ass is a better cleanser than
it's just
anything could
pleasant.
possibly be.
It feels great.
It sounds like a joke, but it legitimately
No.
is.
No, look, if you've never had a jet of water shoot up your ass, you know what? Thank us later, all right? Because it is an experience worth having. Freezer says at the Nintendo Museum they have flood spray your ass. That would be terrific.
And he says, and he says, Mario, that sucks.
My mission is complete. Asshole has been sprayed.
Any other questions about the Nintendo Museum, Hyle?
No, I just wanted to know like how clean the bathrooms were, really.
Yeah, it was real nice.
Very clean.
Most of the bathrooms that we visited in Japan were very nice.
Most bathrooms are very clean. Even the convenience store bathrooms are like nearly spotless.
Now, is that because they meticulously clean them, or do people just know how to shit there? Is what I want to know.
I think people just know how to shit and piss there.
Okay.
I don't think like anyone's having like explosive diarrhea and like completely destroying like a pipe system in Japan.
Yeah. There would be back in the days when I worked retail, there would be someone who would come into the women's restroom every week and take a shit in the sink. So.
Yeah, but that's funny.
That doesn't sound funny.
No, I just admire a country or a culture that knows it's horrific and doesn't want to abuse each other with their feces or fecal matter.
Japan respects the art of shitting, okay? That's what we can say here.
That's your takeaway from the whole trip. And you know what? That would be my takeaway too if I were the one experiencing this. It would be hard to come back to a country where we just poo in sinks.
No, that's not even the biggest convenience thing that I miss. Because like what I remember fondly is that in Japan, anytime you order food, like ever, they give you like hand wipes, like every time. It's just crazy. Like you just have clean hands. You don't have to go and I'm gonna go freshen up. You just wipe your hands and start eating. It's like, why don't we do that? What the fuck?
Do they floss your mouth for you? Do they just come around and just get the gunk out?
Well,
That's an extra charge.
Yeah. Well, on certain streets in what was it, Shinjuku?
You can get some more pleasurable things.
Yeah, we did get several people come up to us and hand us tissues for the maid cafe.
Was Donkey Kong there?
In case, no.
Unfortunately, not. There was no. Unfortunately, there was no Wrinkly maid outfit. There was no Dixie maid outfit. Candy Kong didn't want to show up for some reason. I think she's on strike.
For anyone who's not familiar with Japanese marketing, basically they put a lot of marketing on tissues that they'll hand out to customers. So, just as you're like ambiently walking around. So we ended up with a lot of maid cafe tissues. What was the place called? It was very funny.
Just Andre says, we're back to assholes. When you flush, the Sunshine Game Over music plays. And then that put in my mind, well, we know Donkey Kong Country 3 has had a resurgence of prominence in recent months. It would be wonderful if there was a squirt bidet.
Oh yeah, they should make toilets look like squirt, and you're I would not want to sit on that. Never mind. So I think that about wraps up the old Nintendo Museum.
Yeah, just a very cool place to go to if you end up being lucky. If you get into that lottery, it's definitely worth it. Making Hanafuda cards is a very pleasurable experience, very calming. just browsing the history of Nintendo and seeing so much love and, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Transparency about Nintendo and Rare, even lots more rare than I was expecting to see there.
Mine is Conker, except Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, mine is Conquer, I guess for obvious reasons with the series.
Right, because he's a filthy pisser, and the shit is everywhere. It just completely goes against their bathroom ethos.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, just a very, very cool place in general. Oh, one last thing about the Nintendo Museum. While we were there, they were running a special exhibit on the Nintendo Switch 2, where they had the console running in a glass case that you could look at up close. And of course, while we were there, the thing they had playing inside the Switch 2 display was Donkey Kong Bonanza. So you could see the screen, and it was just the trailer for Donkey Kong Bonanza playing.
Okay, it was just the trailer then. They weren't actually just playing the game. The game wasn't just in there.
No, unfortunately.
Ready to go. Okay.
No, but you could look at the front of the box art. Unfortunately, the back was obscured, so we don't know what's on the back. But yeah.
It's going to be Conker, actually.
Yeah, Conker's on there.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next destination, one final question about the Nintendo Museum outside the bathrooms. And this is gonna be a little bit weird, and it's okay if you weren't that observant because I'm a little freak. I'm a little deviant. I'm always associating places and developing like connections to places by their smells. And museums have a very particular smell that I enjoy. What does the Nintendo Museum smell like? Does it smell like a museum, or does it smell more like a video game store, like a GameStop?
I would say it's got a museum smell to it,
It was everything was behind glass cases and stuff. Oh yeah, we also one of the other things we did we got to use the Ultra Hand, so that was very fun.
Yes, actually, one of the cooler things is that in that same gift shop, you can buy a replica of the Ultra Hand with the box and everything.
So we did, of course, do that.
Yes.
Wow.
That was very important that we do that, because,
we need to use it to harass our cat.
Why wouldn't... No. Why wouldn't you just buy this exact replica of the Ultra Hand that they're selling? It's such a cool part of Nintendo history.
I mean, it doesn't have Donkey Kong on it, or Galactic Pinball.
Not Donkey Kong or Galactic Pinball, but that's one long hand.
Yeah.
If you've ever considered that.
If it was a Lanky Kong Ultra Hand,
Hyle, you don't understand. It's suited to many kinds of jobs.
Well, yeah. I mean, you did get all those towels. I understand now. I understand.
Yeah. So after that, well.
Sorry. One more thing. Again,
you're so long-winded.
They had a little area of the Nintendo Museum where they showed old trading cards that you could get. There was some e-reader stuff, but they had the old Super Donkey Kong trading cards in the glass, and I can post that right here.
Was this the collectible card game from the late 90s, or was this an earlier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's posting right now. There were the Switch 2 stuff with Donkey Kong Bonanza prominently shown. And then it's about, there we go. They've got Hanafuda cards. They've got the original Pokemon cards in there. And right next to the Pokemon cards are the Super Donkey Kong trading cards, basically.
Yeah. I remember those, because they were a weird mix of the games and the cartoon. It was the only time
there's a Bluster Kong card.
Yeah, but then Donkey Kong 64 came out, and they just incorporated Donkey Kong 64 characters. It's one of the only times we got official artwork for some of Cranky as a scientist persona, or Candy the way she looked in the game, rather than just
Bluster Kong.
Well, yeah, It can't be a perfect set, but yeah, it's...
I mean, Bluster Kong's a pillar of the DKU. I don't know what we'd do without him.
Mm. Well, you bought me a Virtual Boy mug, so I'm only going to say nice things about Bluster, or nothing at all.
That's true. You could say nothing at all, and we just assume that you love him. So,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Hyle loves him. I remember when I was on a Stream of Thieves once and made him do a Bluster Kong impression.
you do, we weren't there for it, but we have insider knowledge that Nintendo's planning a big Bluster Kong meet and greet during the Nintendo Museum tours now.
Yeah, you can see his ass.
He,
But anyway, let's
he
move
will
on
come
to
up
the
to you and hug you.
to the Nintendo world.
Yeah, so Hyle, I don't know if you know this, but there's like a small little like theme park out there called Universal Studios. And in the past couple of years, they decided to maybe make their theme park a little bit bigger by adding a Nintendo section. And one of those Nintendo sections has to do with little old Donkey Kong.
Yeah, they were going to do The Legend of Zelda, but they completely botched it. And they made Link look like a gorilla, and it just... They were like, let's just call it Donkey Kong Country, because this is completely fucked as the land of Hyrule.
Yeah, unfortunately, they realized they didn't own the rights to The Legend of Zelda. So they had to quickly reskin the land to look more like Donkey Kong Country.
It's an embarrassment,
they're still
yes.
Yeah, they're still working on like copyright issues so that they can eventually use Zelda right now, but you didn't hear it from me.
So we woke up at the ass crack of dawn.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
essentially woke up at 6 a.m. to make it to Universal Studios.
By the way, so you woke up at 6 a.m., but that's 6 a.m. local time. How bad was your jet lag during the trip? Like, how long did it take for you to recover?
Let me tell you something about me, right? I work nights, so that was just my morning. My nighttime just became a morning, and I was fine the whole trip. I did work an entire shift before we flew out though. So like day of, and then immediately hop on a plane for like 18 hours. So not the most pleasant for your old pal Ape, but
24 to 30 hours of like no sleep while we were like on our
I
way.
cannot sleep on a plane. Hyle, can you sleep on a plane?
For a little bit. It's not a restful sleep, but I can sleep. Especially if it's an overnight flight, then yeah.
I've never ever been able to sleep on a plane. It's like impossible. So yeah, we were pretty tired the first couple days in Tokyo, but like not like I don't know. Everything was exciting and new, so it was still it was fine. We were wide awake.
New sensations for your asshole.
Yeah,
Brand new sensations. Not even you. You can get those on the plane. They do have bidets on the plane while you're going there, but it's not the same when it's like thousands of feet in the air as opposed to right there on the ground.
But yeah, ass crack of dawn. So
Yeah, so 6 a.m. we woke up to get ready for Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Japan.
the thing about
And-
Universal is if you get there early, you can get into the exhibits before they're properly open.
Yeah, so essentially with Universal Studios, Super Nintendo World, and Donkey Kong Country specifically, most of the time you need what's called a timed entry to Super Nintendo World, since it is the most popular attraction there, and they don't want people overflooding that area. So the way it works is you have to download the Universal Studios Japan app, and you have to, once the park is open, you have to make sure you have your ticket registered in the app, and you have to go to something called a timed entry pass, where you choose an available time out of a limited time that you are given. And that time, when you select that time, you will be given a QR code, and that is when you are allowed to enter Super Nintendo World. Thankfully for us, there are a couple of life hacks for Super Nintendo World and Universal Studios. One being that the opening time of the park is not actually the opening time of the park. So when Universal Studios Japan says that they open at 9 o'clock, they actually open an hour before at 8 o'clock, just because they have so many people that line up before they open that they just decide, you know what, we're going to open early today. just to accommodate the people here.
But that
And-
means that the timed entry passes are not active yet, so you
Yes.
can just directly walk in, and they let you do that. So
Because we had that, because they opened early, they had not turned on timed entry passes since they were technically not open yet. So for the first hour that they're open, you can just waltz right into Super Nintendo World without a timed entry pass. And that's what we did. And we essentially spent 75% of our day in Super Nintendo World because there is
I was
a lot to do.
surprised how many things there were to do in this one small park.
So I guess we just get to the front of it. Or I guess technically it's in the back because the front of it, it's Super Nintendo World. The back part is Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, so we walked through Mario World, whatever. Let's talk about
Super
Donkey Kong.
Mario
Yeah.
Land. You got to get the terminology right.
Oh, I don't fucking
Yeah.
care. So speaking of terminology, so the thing about it is right at the entryway for the Donkey Kong Park, I think this is the first time the Donkey Kong Country name is written out in Japanese kana like that. I don't think they normally use they normally use Super Donkey Kong or Donkey Kong Returns.
Mm.
But they had it written out with the English title.
Yeah. This is, I believe Mitchell Wolf mentioned this, but this is probably the first time ever that the Japanese are using the name Donkey Kong Country for something.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
not something
it's-
that usually happens.
It's not something that usually happens. I don't know if it will ever carry over into games, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more universal as part of the branding.
It's going to be a little more universal.
I think that, well, one, I don't think it's a secret that it's known as Donkey Kong Country in the West. So like there's that, but also it just works, especially as a counterpoint to Super Mario Land or Super Mario World even. So, you know, I think going forward you're going to have a little bit less cultural divide with the Donkey Kong series. A little bit give and take here or there, but
yeah, so the first thing that you do is you walk past the Yoshi ride. You go through a little small area of a walkway, and in that walkway is a giant logo that says Donkey Kong Country. It sort of looks like you're pushing yourself through a bit of a barrel.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say Wrinkly Kong's birth canal.
As you slowly squeeze the Wrinkly Kong birth canal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're becoming Donkey Kong.
Yeah, this is like Donkey Kong being born. You are being birthed into this new.
I will say, the first thing we did actually before going in was buy our
Power-up bands.
power-up bands.
Yeah.
I got the Diddy Kong one, and Adam got the Donkey Kong one. And the lady who gave them to us was pointing out our shirts because, of course, we wore the Donkey Kong shirt.
And she said, "Super Donkey."
Yeah. And, yeah. They seemed very excited that they had big fans there.
Yes.
So. On the app, though, every power-up band was assigned to a team, which was like a character themed. And I will say, for most of the day, I think Team Donkey Kong and Team Diddy Kong seemed to have the most people.
Yes. So basically, these leaderboards that they have at Super Nintendo World refresh like every hour, and will update you on like what team is doing the best. Because with your power-up band, you can interact with a lot of elements of Super Nintendo World. Like if you see a M logo for Mario or a DK logo for Donkey Kong, you tap it, and that registers to your power-up band, and that gives you points for your team that you're on. And for most of the day, basically from like when our final total that when we left was like around like 5 or 6 o'clock. But for most of the day, both Team Donkey Kong and Team Diddy Kong were number 1 and 2 respectively.
And with a large margin.
They were basically largely ahead of every other team.
Now, I do think by the end of the night, like 7, 8 o'clock, Team Donkey Kong had fallen a couple of spaces to like number 3 or 4. But Team Diddy Kong, I believe, actually rose up to number 1.
That was my team.
So Team Diddy Kong was
Yeah.
actually ended up being the most popular team that day. And they were the most successful.
Naturally. Have you played Diddy Kong Racing? No comparison.
yeah.
But also, I think it goes a lot to show, like, once again, to reinforce that point, like, Donkey and Diddy Kong are very popular characters. They were in fact the 2 most popular characters that day.
It might be that the park is new, but it is like a thing.
I don't know. I was told on the internet in 2006 that nobody cared about Diddy Kong and he wouldn't be in Super Smash Brothers.
I've heard that Nintendo has forgotten about Mario though, so
True. That's true.
I actually had heard from lots of people online that Nintendo is completely erasing Diddy Kong. They're just deleting the character. They
That's
don't want
right.
you to know about him because, you know, he wasn't made by the Japanese team, so they're just
They hate
completely
him.
getting rid of
They
his
hate him.
legacy.
yeah, they're getting rid of him by putting him on
They're getting rid of him by putting him on merch and
like about
making him
70% of the merch.
Well, they had to skin him.
Yeah, they're making him an important part of the dark ride roller coaster that's there. They gave him a whole redesign just so they could delete him.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's actually insane.
Well, they wanted to make a worse redesign so that you'd feel less sad when
they delete him.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you went to Donkey Kong Country first. Like, that was your first stop.
Yeah, we
Yes.
walked through Mario World briefly. I guess we'll talk about it because
In fact, we were kind of stopped in our tracks in Mario World because one of the first things that we did was to go there, but apparently that was everyone's idea because the queue for Donkey Kong Country Minecart Madness, the end of the queue for the line started at the beginning of Super Mario Land in Super Nintendo World.
yeah, so
It was
it
a
was quite.
200-minute wait queue to get
Although
into
I don't think it took
Minecart
that
Madness.
long. I think it was like
I
I think it was
believe
more
it
like
did,
an hour and a half.
I think it did actually take 2 hours.
DK Vine done
It
slow.
took about 2 to 2 hour and a half. Yeah. We were doing a DK Vine done slow. We waited 200 minutes in a queue for Minecart Madness.
Well, but
you know what? It was
think about it. The thing about the queue, though, is that it is like it's a Disneyland style queue where it's like got a bunch of shit to see like along the path, and like, you get basically like an overview of the whole park throughout the queue, which
Yeah.
is kind of nice.
So not only did we get a nice sightseeing tour of Super Mario Land while we were waiting in the queue, but as we slowly descended more into the Donkey Kong area, you could hear the Mario music slowly starting to fade away. And as the sultry sounds of David Wise music piped into your ears with jungle hijinks and Donkey Kong themes, as you slowly went through the barrel of the Donkey Kong Country.
Were they arrangements from the games? Were they from returns? Like, what were?
It was a new arrangement, but it wasn't like that shaken up or anything. It was a very standard jungle hijinks arrangement.
It was pretty traditional, like DKC one, I'd say.
Okay.
But yeah, once you get in there, straight to your right, besides the big what kind of pillars are they? They're not the screaming pillars. They're kind of like the dragon-like pillars.
You couldn't pay me to remember the name of these things.
No, I know.
Yeah, you get like those two. You get those 2 big pillars that are like right next to you as you enter the Donkey Kong area, and then right to the right you have Funky's Flying By, which is the gift shop. And boy, do they have a lot at this gift shop. I've seen some people a little hesitant or maybe a little pessimistic online when they see how Funky's Flying By, how small it is. But like, they cramp so much merch into that area. There is so much you can get. You can get a bunch of different like Donkey Kong shirts. You can get a nice polyester shirt of Donkey Kong just the big man himself beating his chest, big words, Donkey Kong. You can get like a spiffy, well, like sort of Hawaiian style shirt that has Donkey, Dixie, barrels, Cranky, like the palm trees, all that cool stuff on the shirt. You've got this big ol' Donkey Kong plush where it's him in a barrel about to be shot out of it.
I like the one with Diddy hugging the bear.
You've got another pen holder where Diddy Kong is hugging a DK barrel that you can put your pens in. You've got little Donkey Kong in a barrel like push pins where you push it and like the pen pops out. That's a fun little thing you could get. What else? There is so much merch. It's actually ridiculous.
Adam complained because I spent a lot of money here.
Well, I didn't complain about it here. I knew that this was the area where we were going to bankrupt ourselves, essentially. But boy, was it nice to spend all this money on Donkey Kong merch that you rarely ever see before this.
So the other thing, I don't know, this isn't like a thing that you buy at the store, but they also, a thing about Japan is anytime you make a purchase, they will offer to sell you a bag.
Oh, yes, the bag. Let me
And
take a picture of that.
there is a Donkey Kong country park themed bag. It's got Rambi, it's got Tropical Freeze stuff, it's got...
Yeah, it's essentially a Super Nintendo World themed bag, but it is updated for Donkey Kong Country. On one hand is the entire Mario cast and Donkey and Diddy celebrating in Super Nintendo World, and the other side is completely dedicated to Donkey Kong Country and the characters themselves. So we have what I feel like is a new render of Dixie. I don't think I've seen this render of Dixie before, but right beneath Dixie you have Diddy Kong, beneath him you've got Cranky, to the right of that you have Rambi, and then above you have Donkey and Squawks. And it was a very nice bag just to be able to carry. You could carry a lot in that bag, and boy, did we.
It is a new render of Dixie, or at least it's a render of Dixie that hadn't been seen before, showing up on this bag and being a part of park promotions. So, there's no, redesign discoveries here, because these are the old designs of Donkey and Diddy. And...
Yeah, it's still the old design, but it's definitely a new render.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what else. In terms of merch, they had a little toy of Donkey Kong in a minecart. That's a fun little item that you can get. And this is going to be an exclusive episode bomb, but they have these blind bag keychains that you can buy.
And we have not opened them yet.
We have not opened them yet. We were saving it for this specific episode.
So when you say blind bag keychains, are these the, Chop Sensei character keychains?
Yes.
Okay.
So, these are... We bought 2 of them. We bought 2 of these blind bags, and there can be 8 of these that you can get. So, one is Diddy and DK together.
Mm-hmm.
One is just Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
One is just Diddy. The next is Dixie Kong. Then you get a Rambi, Squawks, Chop Sensei, as he's referred to in Japan, and then followed by Cranky Kong. So I'm going to open my one, and we're going to discover what I got. I got Diddy and DK, and I'll take a nice photo of that. And Andrew, how about you? What did you get?
Come on, Chop
Well,
Sensei.
I still got to crinkle the packaging a little more.
Come on, Chop Sensei. Come on, Chop Sensei. Come on, Chop Sensei.
Let's see.
That's a weird picture.
He's crinkling and stinkling.
Hold on. I'm bad at opening the packaging.
Andrew received
I got
Donkey
the
Kong.
No, I mean, yay. We like Donkey Kong. He's all right.
Yeah, we like him.
He's all right.
He's all right. He's a solid 6.5 out of 10.
It's wild to me that there would be blind boxes at a theme park. It would be so hard to collect them all.
Well, that's why they make you get them, because you got to buy that's how they work.
Yeah, I will say this is one of our better blind box results. Because at the Nintendo Museum, we had bought these blind box mystery keychains that
They
basically
play like the startup sound of the consoles, and
Yeah. So we got two of them thinking, oh, we'll double our odds. And we both got the Nintendo DS startup sound.
We
Not great already, but two of them we
two of them in a row.
we
Yeah,
struck out there.
and Tate, of course, got the GameCube because he's a fucker.
Yeah, he was very lucky. He got the best startup
He
sound.
got the best one.
You know what? I'd say that's decent. We got Diddy and DK himself.
Well, yeah, it's pretty decent. I mean, I'm happy for you. I for my own edification would have preferred you just gotten solo Diddy or Dixie or Cranky or Rampy or Squawks or Chop Sensei. But you got the
No, I like the Diddy and DK one. You're wrong.
I was hoping for a Chop Sensei.
I wanted Chop Sensei as well.
I think it's fair to say, even though it's immensely satisfying and they look amazing, you did get the two least interesting pieces of merchandise. But that's fine. That's fine because it's still something
No, they're cute.
No, they're cute. They're fine. It's Donkey and Diddy. We like them. We like those guys.
Yeah, I like that they're giving each other a high five.
That's right. That's right. It's fine. It's fine.
I would have liked to have Dixie or Chop Sensei, but Diddy and DK are still good.
They're still
No,
good.
they're not. Shut up. Okay. So yeah, the queue. We stood in the queue.
Yeah, so to the right was Funky's flying by. And also straight ahead, while you're still going in the line, is Donkey Kong's treehouse. You get a nice, good view of DK's treehouse while you're walking through the queue, since it's just the park area. And it's a really well constructed treehouse. It is the treehouse from Returns, and I believe both you and Dustin in the past have discussed at length about Donkey Kong's treehouse.
We have.
So you know the exact eccentricities of it.
Yes. Now,
Yeah, you know exactly what's inside because this is the one from Returns.
yes, this is the Roval hut with the straw thatched roof. We refer to it as
It's got the TV. It's got the TV that you can play the Donkey Kong Country Returns theme on.
To differentiate it from the classic treehouse, we refer to it in DK Vine's guidebook as the Jungle Hut. But yes, it is still a treehouse, more or less.
Yeah, so straight ahead, that is DK's treehouse. And then to the left, you will see another queue, and that is the queue for the Rambi Power-Up Band minigame.
Yes.
And that is where, with the Power-Up Band, you and two other people are given a set of bongos, and you need to pan away to the beat of the music
Which we were pros at, by the way.
We were pros. We immediately summoned Rambi.
There were a couple people that were struggling to do it, but we did it in like a couple seconds.
Because you remembered all the small things.
Yeah, we are pros at bingo.
Yeah, we played ditties in our heads, and that really helped.
There was a farmer had a dog, and bingo was his name-o.
And then also to the right is a Jungle Beat Shake Shop.
Yes. So this is a fun thing. Jungle Beat Shakes. This is where you get the Donkey Kong Crush Sundae. And the Donkey Kong Crush Sundae at Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Japan is slightly different from how they sell it at Epic Universe, I discovered.
Yes.
And we'll get into those in a bit.
Well, the ice cream is made from actual ape milk.
Yes, they show you they are actually milking apes in the back, and you can watch them do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got Wrinkly and
well, not Wrinkly, she's dead. You can't milk a ghost.
That's ectoplasm.
People always ask where's Chunky in the theme parks. He's the one being milked. He's the one that has the most ape milk for your buck.
Okay.
So that is their source. They are using Chunky Kong. But essentially, you can either buy this DK Crush Sundae with or without a souvenir mug. And the souvenir mug is, of course, a DK mug. barrel. And how it is done is it is basically a banana smoothie as the base with some popcorn sprinkled around it.
A waffle cone?
In a waffle cone. I think it's like
It was like
Go Krispies, or like maybe it's like little pieces of granola, and then it's just like a big swirl of like sherbet in the middle of it.
like mango sherbet, I think.
It was like mango strawberry sherbet or something like that.
Sorbet or sherbet? This is important.
I think it was like sherbet. It could be sorbet.
Sherbet has a dairy component, while sorbet is just the actual fruit puree. Like, sorbet is vegan, sherbet is not. So it
I don't know. There was probably milk in this. I don't
okay.
know.
Well, yeah, if they had Chunky hooked up to the lactation device, then sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was actually very good. It was one of the nicest things to have at the park.
Because it was also scorching hot. So
Oh yes.
I was going to ask what the weather was like.
The things about this summer in Japan is not only is it really hot and humid, but also this summer Japan is experiencing record-breaking heat temperatures for them. So one of the things that was also happening was there were constant announcements to stay drinking water. And also,
I think mainly it is.
mainly at Tokyo Disneyland, but if you still asked for water, they could probably give
Yeah,
you
it was like a clear thing where it was like people knew that the heat was an issue that day.
That's why they needed to have Ellie the elephant actually in the park to squirt water in your mouth.
They should have. I will say, like, giving my thoughts on the theme park itself, I do think that the choice to make it returns themed was a very smart one. Because like it is one of those things where they don't have to stretch the art style that much to make it look like you're just in the game. It's like it didn't feel like all the pieces were like, plasticky hunks of,
But anyways, yeah, the banana smoothie, really good. But to just have like a bunch of shit on top of that, like the waffle cone
yeah,
and
so
the
they
little
give
bits
you
of
they give you a
popcorn.
they give you a big spoon and you're supposed to actually crush it yourself into the shake.
Mhm. And the spoon is if you can tell, it's got DK like throwing a barrel. Essentially, it looks like you are drinking from like a busted up barrel that DK just threw.
Mm.
It's very good presentation on their part,
It's cute.
and it's absolutely delicious. Now, also delicious is what we've been talking about. Is the DK Wild hot dog
Oh
that
God.
you can buy. So yes, we are monsters. We are carnivorous beasts. Unfortunately, I know that's not Hyle's thing, but we are carnivorous beasts, and we demand fresh meat. And so the closest fresh meat that they can deliver us is the fresh meat directly from
Professor
our
Chops.
good friend Professor Chops.
Yeah.
They have grinded him up into a hot dog to sell to the unsuspecting customers of Universal Studios Orlando. Not Orlando.
It's not where we went.
We'll actually get to that in a second. No, I felt much safer in Tokyo and Osaka than I would probably in Florida. Now, the DK Wild hot dog has avocado cheese sauce, and it has what feels like just like a couple of chips on it. And you know what? A bit of an expensive hot dog, I'm not gonna lie,
I
but
do like that they kind of like bake the pattern into the bread, like the one that's on like the
Oh, yeah.
crumbs.
in the patterns of the hot dog bun is like the shape of like what a track would be in a minecart. One of the other fun things about the presentation of this hot dog is before you open it, you've got some very nice artwork of Donkey Kong Country Returns. So on the front, you have like the Golden Temple and the Blast Barrel. On the back, you have the DK Treehouse and Funky's Flying By. And then once you open up it, you've got them like a little peg of like DK and Diddy on it, looking like they're surfing like the minecart. It's a simple hot dog, maybe a little overpriced. It's probably more, but it's very nicely done. The hot dog was very good. Avocado cheese sauce. Sounds like both of those together are a nightmare, but goes down real smooth.
It's also not like a hot dog. It's more like a spiced like sausage. It was like thick.
Donkey Kong's thick spiced sausage, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Freezer says in the chat, you don't often hear about the presentation of a hot dog.
That's true.
I'll say this about the hot dog presentation. The artwork on the packaging that you've provided, it's very interesting because it's very minimalistic. It's not like super detailed. It almost looks like an MS Paint drawing of like Donkey Kong Island.
It kind of reminds me of the King of Swing like backgrounds.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's not like I would say it's lacking even the shading in that. It's just like flat primary colors, but it's very striking because of that.
It's not a thing you commonly see them designing DK stuff with,
Yeah.
for sure. It's very minimalistic.
And you could say this hot dog is tasty all you want. It looks horrific to me. Before we did record, I wanted to sort of live vicariously through you, so I did for lunch. Now, granted, I had to make some concessions because of available materials. I did make a vegan hot dog, and I smeared guacamole on the top, and
Ooh.
I stuck the one kind of Dorito that doesn't use milk in its ingredients. It's like some spicy something Dorito. So I stuck a couple of those in there. It's the one in the purple bag. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because I don't recommend doing this. It sucked.
Well, the problem was probably the ratio of guacamole to cheese sauce, because the cheese sauce is where the real flavor was.
Well, yeah, I didn't have cheese sauce. I didn't have any equivalent of cheese sauce, so I just smeared guacamole on it. But all the same, this can get fucked.
Now, Hyle, I do want to bring this up since we are talking about the food. We have not personally been to Universal Orlando, so we have not seen the Epic Universe version of this. But doing some research, I have found out that there are some differences in the food, specifically in the Donkey Kong Country area. So for one, the big thing, the DK Wild hot dog is not available at Epic Universe in Universal Studios Orlando. You cannot buy and eat the DK Wild hot dog. It is a Universal Studios Japan exclusive food item. And two, the location you get your DK
Jungle Beat shake,
your DK
The
shake
bubbly barrel.
is a completely different. Yeah, it's a completely different area. It's called the Bubbly Barrel. And I'll post photos of that right here.
Oh, I know.
The way that they actually do the shake itself is also completely different.
They milk Lanky Kong.
Yeah, they've got Lanky Kong hooked up to the milking machine, and it seems like the entire thing is banana based in a big universe. You do not get the sherbet swirl; you get just banana, and on top you get banana on top of banana, and you also, instead of regular popcorn, you get caramel corn with like granola sprinkles instead of like the cocoa
sounds
pebbles.
pretty good.
Yeah, still good, but like it's definitely different. It's like it's essentially a different item with the same menu name in Japan. And I find that very interesting.
So there's no like replacement for the hot dog. They just don't serve like a main course.
Yeah, they're just one down.
They're just, well, you know what? Japan can keep the DK Wild hot dog if we can get some more bidets over here. I think that's a fair trade.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything notable about the bathroom at Nintendo. It did play the underwater theme from Mario Land.
From Mario
Yeah,
Land,
so
should have been aquatic ambience.
Mario,
well, here's the thing. There were no bathrooms in the Donkey Kong Country section
Oh,
Yeah,
of
so
the theme park. But I would say if it was there, then the bidets in that area would probably have both On Guard and Ellie shooting water up your ass.
yeah, I would not want On Guard to do that.
But
That sounds sharp.
unfortunately, there is nobody shooting anything up your ass in the Donkey Kong section of the park.
Well, there wasn't.
You have to go to Mario World.
Well, no, there wasn't
to use
anyone.
this
There
toilet.
wasn't anyone shooting up your ass in the Mario World either. They were normal toilets. It just played music.
I do think this does answer the question, does a brothers bear shit in the woods? Well, they have to, because there are no bathrooms at Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah. Like, if you need to take a shit in Donkey Kong Country, you either have to go back to Mario Land to take your shit, or you just gotta do what they do in the jungle. You
all right,
shit yourself.
back to the queue. Back to the queue.
Anyways, the queue, we're still going through the queue as we're looking through all this. We finally get to the entrance of Minecart Madness, and that is where we spot that it's a 200-minute wait that we had already been waiting in.
Yeah.
So, as you descend into the actual queue, you sort of wrap around the outside a little bit of the jungle, and while you're going through it, there's a lot of like barrels that you see, some banana barrels, some like maybe a little mini banana horde. What else do you see? You see a QR code that you can scan with Cranky Kong on it, and he's saying, "Listen up." And if you scan this and access it, you are taken to a part on the Universal site where they essentially give you a lot of background details about Donkey Kong Country at Super Nintendo World and sort of the basis of the ride itself. And you can get it either in Japanese or American. Or
American.
Or American.
Japanese or American. That's what we call English now. You essentially get Cranky and Squawks kind of like squabbling with each other as they sort of give you the lowdown
By the way,
on what's going on.
I do want to say for everyone, I did provide this whole sequence in a news article when Donkey Kong Country opened in Osaka, so you can check that out at dkvine.com if you want to see this for yourself.
Yeah. And like I do want to say, like the queue is so well done. Like if you look on the ground while you're going through the queue, you will see like Donkey Kong's footprints and like Donkey Kong's handprints like on the
His
ground.
ass cheek prints.
As if like as if he was just a little bit more ahead of you than you are.
He just came in when they were pouring the cement, and he just had to get his footprints in there like a Hollywood star.
Notably, the queue is structured. I mean, it's a jungle level, but then they also have like those flowers that you can pound on and spit out the stuff.
They have the ground pound flowers on the sides, just like a lot of foliage on the sides, just to really hammer
to jungle
home.
it up. Also, the sky was an interesting thing because they had like a fake skybox.
Yeah. Like it's still like outside, but they sort of have like a fake skybox on the top that makes you think you're sort of domed in when you're not. But it's a cool addition, definitely. It really helps separate itself from the Mario section of the park, just so you don't see any of the Mario section while you're in Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah, you gotta fully immerse yourself.
Yeah, they want to make sure you are as immersed in Donkey Kong Country and not thinking about Mario.
It's bad enough you see Hogwarts in the distance.
Yeah, unfortunately, Funky has had to fly some people there, but like he's always had like a really disapproving look when they're like on the ride with him. He's like, "Hey, I'm not one to judge, man, but I'm just telling you, this ain't too cool."
There's no JK barrels in Donkey Kong Country.
Thankfully not. They I don't think Donkey Kong and his friends want to discuss further with any other parts of the park other than Mario.
So the queue, it goes from the jungle inside the Golden Temple.
Yes.
Which has a lot of interesting wall art, including what was my favorite. So the thing with this park is that they hide Pikmin everywhere. In both the Mario and the Donkey Kong section, there's a few spots with Pikmin. And one of them is it's a It's a mural of 25M where it's Donkey Kong throwing a barrel, and you can see that Pikmin are getting crushed by it. So I liked that a lot. Uh,
So the more you get into the temple, the more you see like really fun and interesting things. You get a lot of like wall art, like depicting the golden banana itself. What else? You have a lot of statues reminiscent of those golden K temples. One of my favorite things about this is on the topic of like fun things. Uh, there are water stations throughout the queue that are basically shaped like a monkey's mouth, and you are essentially drinking out of a monkey's mouth.
I just love how all the fun things are jets of water shooting at you in various holes.
Yeah, one goes in your mouth, one goes up your ass. What more could you want from a vacation in Japan? Let's see. Just getting these posted. They've got like other miscellaneous barrels around inside the temple. And then you sort of get to the big part that everyone's also been talking about, and this is the life-sized Cranky and Squawk's animatronics.
Inside Cranky's cabin.
Yeah, and it's as they are giving you a rundown of how the ride is going to work. And like, you also buy it. You can see like a huge like banana potion that you can buy from Cranky usually. That's there as like a life-sized prop.
Yeah, so if you drank that, you could sustain 10 hits before you take damage.
That's true. But like, I just want to say the attention to detail on these animatronics, it's one thing to see them in videos and images, but seeing them up close and personal, it's probably one of the coolest things that like we got to see during this trip.
I took a picture of Cranky Kong's feet.
Like,
that's hot.
This is like aside from like some of the ones at Tokyo Disneyland, this is like some of the coolest and smoothest animatronics like I've seen them create.
I love seeing the way that Cranky's like beard would like flow with the with his chair moving.
Yeah, and he's like constantly rocking in his chair also. It's so well made.
Did it feel like you were actually meeting Cranky Kong?
Did.
Well, yeah,
but
actually. But then he started talking and he was like, squawks. So I was like, I don't know what you're saying, dude, but I'm sure it's cool.
I mean, like, even looking at Squawks in the picture, like, you can see how detailed his feathers are. He's, like, incredibly detailed for, like, a smaller but still sizable animatronic. There's, like, so much put into them.
I noticed too, like when they're talking, sometimes like they would banter with each other. Like Squawks would like squawk at him and stuff, and like it was kind of fun.
Yeah, like they were still giving each other shit. Like in one part after this, there's a little bit more of the queue, but like you can see like the vine structure like growing through the temple, which is a really nice touch. I'm uploading that right now. And then right to the side of it, before you get into like the last of the queue, before they send you onto the ride vehicles, there is a place for people who are there to hold their umbrellas. And in these umbrella holders, you basically have like different like icons that you would usually see in Cranky's shop when you're buying stuff. So you've got like Squawks' image and the extra balloons, the potions, like the alternate route keys. And it's a very nice touch. Again, like going back to like the Mario area after it was still cool, but like you can kind of feel that they put much more effort into Donkey Kong Country than they kind of did in even the Mario section.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think they were about the same amount of effort. There was a lot going on in the Mario
I would say in the queue itself, there's a lot that they put in. Compared to like say like the Yoshi or the Mario Kart.
I think the Yoshi one was a little underwhelming compared to the other ones.
To be fair, I would think, wow, they did such a great job with Donkey Kong Country because it would mean more to me than a lot of the Mario stuff would. So I would be a biased little shit.
We'll briefly touch on the Mario stuff because it is a Mario Kart themed ride. So
Actually, I'm not sure if Donkey Kong appears in it.
I don't think he does, no. But on the subject of Cranky Kong, just Andre says, the Donkey Kong Country section should have had Cranky's hut from the Melee stage that has the poop hole on the underside.
well, no, he's in Japan, so the poop hole actually sprays water at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claptrap jumps up inside of you.
That's why they had to get rid of the bathrooms in Donkey Kong Country. There was a claptrap infestation.
Mm-hmm.
Not fun. But yeah.
Then we got on the ride.
Yeah, then turns out there was actually a ride when you get through this huge queue. And it is I wouldn't say it's super short, but I think it's just long enough. It's like, I'd say like a semi-thrill ride. It's not like the most thrilling you'll have, but it still goes...
It goes pretty fast.
It goes relatively fast and has some nice little areas.
I got sprayed with water on it.
Yes, it is a bit of a water ride,
Did
actually.
Squirt get you, or was it like a Mugly statue or something?
I think it kind of... Well, there was like a statue that does spray.
Yeah, it is a statue that does it.
Okay.
But also, like, there is like a section where like it sort of dives down in one of the tracks
It's like a Mr.
and kind of sprays you also. But essentially the story is you get on one of the mine carts, and first thing you do is you go into a barrel to be shot out of. And while you're doing that, you can see like a Dixie Kong animatronic kind of like roaming around and looking out for like Tiki Tong and the golden banana. So she's kind of surveying the area.
That's what she was doing in return. She was just looking out for Tiki Talk. She's like, I'm not going to help, but I'll keep watch.
Yeah. So Dixie Kong's sort of out there on watch. And then once you get into the barrel, you are blasted out of it. And that's when you start hearing the minecart madness music.
Well, no, actually,
No, is it the rocket?
it's the rocket barrel. Yeah.
You actually get the rocket barrel music.
That's not accurate. That's wrong. Fix your game, Nintendo.
No, it fit. It was good.
It was, even though it was the wrong theme, it was very fitting as it blasts you off.
Did Dixie spit on you? Was that the first time you got wet?
No, unfortunately, Dixie does not spit on you.
Mm.
I'm not too much of a fan of that. I know there's probably some people out there, maybe some in the chat that would love to have Dixie.
The thing is, Hyle, you need to ask her. So we didn't want her to do that.
Yeah, we didn't want to impose. You know, she was already busy looking out for Tiki Tongue and the golden banana. We didn't want to get in the way of that.
Well, it's a very hot day. She needs all of her bodily fluids. She can't waste any.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were putting out warnings about the heat. So
Yeah, she had to down a chops dog, you know, to keep her blood sugar up.
don't call it a chops dog.
I actually prefer that terminology more than the DK Wild hot dog.
But yeah, you get to like sort of one of the first show scenes, which is kind of inside one of the temples while you're going through the track. And essentially what happens is the track breaks off. So like you're about to collide with Donkey and Diddy Kong, who are also in the mines. And then the track breaks off and you swerve to the right. And sort of like you're kind of like skirting on the sides of the tracks now with how the right technology goes. Like it's always pretty straight, but like the way the track is angled kind of makes it feel like you're sort of on the sides. And once you take that turn, actually the first part where you get sprayed is actually right before that show scene. So after you get out of that show scene, you're still on the minecart track. And as you're basically making like a jump over the track, you like run out of like track. So you do have to do like a jump like in the games, which is actually kind of a fun thing to see. Because it does give you the illusion that like the track is running out or has like decayed and you're jumping over it. And after that, you go into another show scene inside one of the temples where You are constantly jumping back and forth, like between like what is it? You're sort of like jumping back.
You're doing that thing from the level in Tropical Freeze where you jump sideways between the tracks.
Yeah. And while you're jumping between the tracks, you have the little moles from Returns
Mole miners.
who throw stuff at you. Yeah, and you almost collide with the mole miners before jumping to another track. And they have an animatronic of the mole miners there, which was very fun to see them like poking their heads out of the mine carts that they were in.
The animatronic work was crazy just in the entire Nintendo park.
Now, can you verify, were they just the drone enemy mole miners, or was Mole Miner Max there?
I think it was just the drones, but it's hard to remember.
I can send you a
There was
YouTube
no,
video of the ride, even though they discourage from taking video or photos.
Well,
during
yeah,
the
because
ride.
the ride's going really fucking fast, so you're gonna drop your phone.
Mhm.
That's why you need a GoPro helmet.
Yeah, you need like a fancy like, or like those glasses that that they wear in the superhero movies or whatever.
But anyways, after that, it turns out Professor Chops. Here's the big twist. Professor Chops was not ground into the hot dogs because he is there to checkpoint you on your ride.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Like Professor Chops pops up waving the flags when you get to the halfway point of the ride, and he's like, "Hey, you made it to the checkpoint."
Yeah, and you did eat his fellow oinks, like his cousins from Juicy Jungle or whatever. But yeah, the genuine article is still alive and kicking.
Yeah, he had to go into witness protection after all those, so he's safe on the ride, helping you save your progress on it.
And he's also eating a Chops hot dog.
So does this mean the implication that Universal is giving you is that if you actually like fell out of the minecart and had a horrific death, you should just respawn at Professor Chops?
Yeah, but we didn't have any balloons, so
Yeah, we got our checkpoint, but we were out of balloons, so we had to really make it count. Otherwise, it would have been a bit gruesome.
Freezer had the same idea. Freezer said in the tragic event that people die on the ride, they'll have Super Kong bring the corpses back to the station.
Yeah, they've got someone in a Super Kong outfit ready to return the bodies.
It's just the regular Donkey Kong costume covered in Chunky's milk.
Yeah. They've got to really wash it out before DK goes back to his meet and greets every half hour. But after that is when you get after you get out and get blasted through another barrel, you have the screaming pillars that you start riding on, because like you have them sort of like falling down as you like ride through them. And that's when you go through another like sort of semi-drop, which depending on like the ride vehicle can sometimes have a bit of a bigger splash. And then once you turn into there, you get to a show scene with Tiki Tong ready to attack you. Like he gets very close to attacking you, and you sort of swerve on the side of the minecarts outside. You do another sort of like little minecart section outside, and then you finally get to the end where you've got Donkey Kong really punching down on a Tiki Tong, like straight into the skull of him, just completely fracturing him. Straight into the ground he goes. And while Donkey's doing that, Diddy is recovering the golden banana that he had stolen from the temple. So Diddy Kong gets to be the hero of the ride as he recovers the golden banana. And after that, you are taken back to the dock station, where you have successfully prevented the Tikis from conquering the island.
Again.
Freezer says it's not realistic because Retro Studios minecart levels last like 6 minutes.
That's true.
It's decently long though.
Like Tiki Tong should vomit on all the ride passengers with his banana goop. Just bleh.
Well, no,
That's
he's
true.
Well, here's the thing though. He hadn't had his chops dog that day, so he didn't have anything to vomit up.
Also, unfortunately, like you do not get the pleasure of seeing the moon come down onto Tiki Tong. They did not want to pay for a moon animatronic.
They also know how dumb that is.
No, that's awesome.
So
We like that.
You do just have Donkey Kong beating the shit out of Tiki Tong, like straight onto the head.
I like when Donkey Kong beats the shit out of things.
Yeah, it's fun to watch that sometimes. The fun thing is when you're finally going through the exit queue, you can obviously go get your picture that it takes on the ride, which we did get. But also, after you exit the ride, to the left-hand side that you can use for your power-up band, they have an end of level. They have an end of level barrel that you can hit with your power-up band.
Mm-mm.
So, just like in the levels of Donkey Kong Country Returns, you tap your power-up band to the end of level barrel, and you get a special surprise that goes into the app. And you get a lot of different things. You can get like a balloon, you can get a DK logo, you can get a banana coin.
Basically, all the things that you would get at the end of a level.
Yeah. And it's really well done. It's a really cool thing to just tap on afterwards.
It's a shame. I know it's all based on Returns and to a lesser extent Tropical Freeze, but it's a shame they don't have the Donkey Kong Country 2 end of level targets, so then you're forced to break out a boombox and turn your hat around.
Or just pull out a guitar and start shredding on it.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that.
Was there anything else in the Donkey Kong part that's worth talking about?
Yes.
Oh, we met Donkey Kong.
Yes, they have Donkey Kong's meet and greet, which on the onset looks like it's a pretty short line, but the people there are very quick to cap off the line.
Well, because the thing about this is Nintendo learned their lesson from the last time they put someone in a Donkey Kong suit.
That's
and
true.
So they give him a break like every 30 minutes. So Donkey Kong comes out, the crowd cheers, and then he goes back and he's like, "See ya." He takes pictures with a couple people, and the line halts for a little bit.
Yeah.
The park's been going for about 6 months now. What does that Donkey Kong costume smell like? I want to know how stinky this ape was just before the start of summer.
Honestly, there wasn't really a smell coming from him.
Oh,
He,
what a shame.
I unfortunately, I do really think that they had learned their lesson from the last time they put someone in a Donkey Kong suit during the summer, because it seemed like it was a very versatile costume that was very flexible.
Oh, you tested out its flexibility, did you?
Well, so the thing about how this line worked, though, right, was that so you're supposed to run up, you're supposed to give him a fist bump, and then you all pose together. But there was a bit of a language barrier going on.
You thought they said fist him, and oh boy.
Yeah, there were some unpleasantries with our language barrier that were sorted out, but that was a close one with DK.
But the people in front of us had a child who was very very annoyed to be in line, getting cranky.
As most 1 to 2 year olds would be in the summer heat.
And then when it was his turn to come up, it was like the cutest thing because Donkey Kong leaned down, got on his level, and tried to say hey, come here,
And then punched him.
So that was very cute. Yeah, and then
he did the combo punch. He got like a × 5 on him before sending him flying.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I did take a picture of his ass.
As you're wont to do.
I'm not sure what your final conversation thing when you upload this is going to be, but that is probably a contender. It's a pretty good ass, although you can see on the bottoms of the feet that there is like a heel that maybe shouldn't be there. I don't know. It's not meant to be viewed from the back.
Then it's not a real Donkey Kong costume.
Well, it's not a costume. That was Donkey Kong. I met him, and I did go up to him and ask him if Diddy Kong was his nephew, and he said yeah.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, then it's not the real Donkey Kong. Plus the language barrier.
No, he spoke perfect English. He said, "Donkey, all confused at your question, but yeah, he's been my nephew for years now."
I'm a little let down that we don't have the scoop what Donkey Kong smells like, and that pain's gonna linger with me.
No. He was scentless. He was freshly washed from his Japanese toilet ass.
I guess if there's anything to talk about the smell of Donkey Kong, I guess it's leather.
Yeah.
He smells like leather.
Don't worry, I fist bumped him twice for you, Hyle.
Like the 30 minutes he gets is like a good BDSM jerk off session,
Whoa!
like we all do.
Whoa!
BDSM? Are you getting chains?
It's not Super Mario RPG. This isn't Chain Kong.
Yeah. Well, they have Chain Kong in the back, but like that's only for like DK to like wind down and stress out with him,
Freezer says his nephew is a leather ditty.
Yeah. Thankfully, there are no actually Diddy parties being held at Donkey Kong Country. Only Diddy Kong himself, and he is a complete innocence right now. So no bad Diddy sightings at Universal Japan for Donkey Kong Country, thankfully.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, so then we left the Donkey Kong Park and went to the Mario Park.
We went to the Mario section, yes.
But the thing about it that it is DKE relevant because it's a Mario Kart themed ride, and the queue was very cool.
Okay.
You go through Bowser's Castle.
It's always Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, but I won't lie. You've got a pretty great giant statue of Bowser in the foyer when you enter. It's really nice. It's nice and air conditioned.
Yeah, I liked that it was nice to be inside the castle.
It's odd that the lava based castle with the dude who loves breathing fire was the coolest part of the park.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
I'm not sure if I would say it's the best part. I
meant
think
coolest.
Coolest as in
temperature.
As in fan.
Oh, yes.
No, obviously Donkey Kong Country is the coolest. I don't care what you say.
Hands down.
Well, yeah, the queue for that was very cool. There's like little books everywhere with a bunch of like very honestly pretty rare style jokes on them. They lots of silly stuff about Bowser and his minions, whatever. I know people aren't here for the Mario part, but I thought it was very well done. It was very cute. I would be on Team Bowser, but the game they have you play does, of course, force you to be on Team Mario, like a loser. And you have to spit shells at all the Koopalings or whatever. I don't remember.
And I will say, it's a nice queue, but boy, is this like one of the longest queues I've been in. It just keeps going. Like, once you think you're like in a showroom and about to like get to an actual part where you're loaded onto the ride, it's like, there's more walking.
Yeah, here's more walking. This is the factory part where all the bob-ombs are made.
Yeah, you have to go down like 3 flights of stairs before you get to the ride.
And this isn't DKU relevant at all, but we also did the Yoshi ride, the Master Roshi. Yeah.
The Master Roshi Dragon Ball ride?
Yeah,
I wish that was a thing.
So we did the Yoshi ride, and the thing about the queue for that one that's kind of funny is it looks like they just kind of ran out of space, because at one point the queue just becomes like a back alley lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna like paint it later or something, or do something.
I don't
with it,
think
but
they are, but I think that's on like the busier days where they don't have enough room. They kind of just open up a door and funnel you into a back alley for a couple of minutes.
So that was
before
that was
going
funny.
back in.
I thought the Yoshi ride was very cute.
Oh, the fun thing about the Yoshi ride is that in one of the sections, if you look through one of the areas, you can see Donkey Kong Country. Just peeking through, you can see the minecart ride.
I mean, it's too big for them to hide it, so...
Yeah, but it's very much purposefully designed that way, just as like a little peek through, like,
you
what's
can
this?
see this fancy island. What's that?
Yeah, why don't you go over there and have some hot dogs?
If I was stuck on the Yoshi ride and I saw that, I would shed a single tear, wishing I could be back over there. I don't know if you know this about me. I really like Donkey Kong.
But Hyle, if you met Yoshi in real life, you'd still be happy.
I'd be like, what's Donkey Kong smell like?
Well, yeah, but like you'd still be happy to know that's Donkey Kong's friend Yoshi.
Are they really friends?
Yoshi,
they get along well in baseball.
Yoshi's gonna smell pretty rank, let me tell you. He's always pooping out those eggs.
He's egging up.
Like he's not using those bidets, so he is a stinky ass man.
Yeah, and he always has babies on his back too. So
Yeah, and those babies aren't just
they are
shitting
shitting.
so much.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, Hyle. Yoshi and DK are friends because in Yoshi's Island DS, Yoshi babysat him for a long time. So
Oh yeah, I forgot about that game. Anyway, did you have fun? Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
it was great.
It was a great experience, lots of merch, a lot of love for Donkey Kong. He and Diddy were the most popular characters on the leaderboards while we were going through it. Obviously when anyone at the park saw our shirts, they would say Donkey Kong or Super Donkey, and they would do like the chest beat because, they are also fans of Donkey Kong. They love the big guy.
I mean, of course, that you wouldn't go to work at a Donkey Kong park if you don't like Donkey Kong. I don't think.
Well, could just be a job. I mean,
I mean, it is like it is their job to like make you feel hype you up and.
I didn't like cleaning out that shit from the sink, but I still had to do it.
Yeah, but no, you could tell that people were enjoying what interacting with guests and stuff. Yeah, I mean, we did do other stuff at Universal, but it's getting less and less DK relevant by the minute.
Yeah, I'm losing interest.
What, you don't want to hear about Jaws?
Yeah, the Jaws ride is still alive and well in Universal Japan. They got rid of that shit years ago in Hollywood.
Look,
So it was nice to see that.
No offense to Steven Spielberg, but unless it's a Chomps or a Chomps Jr. or a Snaggles or fucking Snacker, I don't care.
Caesar, don't worry. We will tell that story. We will. I know we told it on the stream, but we will gladly tell it again. Yeah. So that was our Osaka portion of the trip.
Yeah.
It was very fun.
Very fun. Lots to see, lots to do.
I mean, we also did the Kirby Cafe there, but that's
That's also not Donkey Kong related.
Yeah,
but boy, was it nice.
I met Wispy Woods. That was cool.
Kirby's had Donkey Kong in his mouth. Did you ask Kirby what Donkey Kong tastes like?
Oh, we should have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I heard that he was being a bit of a diva, so he didn't want to make any appearances that day. So the crew was kind of trying to make up for the fact that Kirby didn't want to show.
My brief thoughts of the Kirby Cafe was that it was cute.
It was very good food.
So then we went back to Tokyo on the Shinkansen again. And so most of the rest of the trip, we didn't have like a concrete plan. We just kind of
Bummed
around Tokyo, explored, did thrift shopping. One thing I will say, we did a lot of arcades. And in Japan, obviously, the UFO catchers are a famous thing. One thing that I won was a Donkey Kong figure.
It was part of like a standard figure Nintendo line or something.
It was the Super Mario
Standard figure
collection 2 or something. But the Donkey Kong one was very prominently
displayed.
There were also a bunch of like Mario Kart ones where you could like win it with like a smaller claw machine.
And there were a couple of Donkey Kongs in there with like a nice rider.
There was a manga shop we went into. We looked into the doujinshi section, which well, do you know what those are?
No. I'm a good little boy, and I don't sully my mind with anything of the perverse or erotic.
Well, okay,
Let's
but
just say it is in fact the perverse and erotic that they have.
so they are essentially fan comics that can get sold just like their regular merchandise, and there sure were some horny Crystal ones. There was a horny Falco one, so I know he's not the most DKU character in the world, but
So yeah, take this. I'm posting it right now. This lets you know that Crystal is indeed popular in Japan.
Yeah.
there she is.
She does in fact have her audience.
it's good to know that she is still popular because I heard on the internet in 2006 that Japan hated Crystal because she was developed in the English Midlands. But I see this and I'm thinking, oh, well.
Yeah, those sure are Crystal's titties.
Yeah, they hate Crystal so much that they brought her back for a second GameCube game and one DS game.
Freezer asked in the chat if I bought it for Hyle. No, because it was
Very expensive.
It was like at least like
8,000.
it wasn't that much. It was like oh no, it was like about 10,000. I want to say 10,000 yen, which is about $80, which I was not going to spend on horny Crystal.
7,000 yen for the one on the left. 5,000 for the one on the right.
Still too much. Too much.
That's a shame because all I really care about is Tricky in it.
Probably.
He might be in it. I don't know if they would want to involve a minor in that sort of stuff. So I'm going to say
an assault though.
Yeah, but this is like Adventures Crystal.
You don't know. You didn't read it.
That's
Did
true.
you?
This could be Assault Crystal still.
I mean, I'm not sure if this is Adventures or Assault Crystal because she's not wearing clothes.
That's
true. That means it's Adventures Crystal, honestly.
True.
She's
got
just got a bikini in there.
Got me there.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to involve a minor with Tricky.
Yeah, so we did do some thrift shopping. Unfortunately,
we can't seem to find it, but we did make some cool finds via like Donkey Kong.
We did buy these, but I don't think they survived the trip. There was a very small, it was like maybe like an inch or two high figure of Donkey Kong and another one of Espresso that I found.
Like, and these were like when the game originally came out, the first Super Donkey Kong.
But I can't find it, so I don't know.
Are these like the Keshi rubber figures? Or are these?
Yes, but they were painted.
Okay.
So
okay.
Like, yeah, so like they were like that size and like probably like they looked like hand painted by somebody. Because like that is what you're supposed to do with those is like take them and paint them yourself, you know.
Oh, I've got such shaky hands. I could never, ever.
Well, no, there's some people that like really get into like model painting and stuff. I think it's cool. So shout outs to you listening to this that do that. You're cool.
You're cool. I wish we hadn't lost it in our travels.
Yeah, because it was neat. There was a Keshi K. Rool figure that we found, but I don't think we ended up getting it.
Well, I don't think we found it. We were told it was in that store, but we never saw it.
Yeah, because we were like thrift shopping through Mandarake, which is like a
chain of like thrift stores.
Yeah, it's like, you know, secondhand whatever's. What else did we do that's DK relevant?
I think we're just about coming up to all the stuff we did.
But enough about the crystal porn.
I do want to mention, like, just in general, even in places that we were not necessarily there for DKU or Donkey Kong specific things, whenever we would wear something Donkey Kong related.
So we went to Disneyland.
Tokyo Disney Resort, Tokyo Disneyland. And there, surprisingly, there were a lot of people there excited to see Donkey Kong.
A funny thing, we wore the Donkey Kong shirts on the way in, and the like TSA lady that was checking us, she was like, "Oh, in this park we have Mickey Mouse."
Oh, you got burned.
And it was very funny, but she seemed like really happy to see the
Donkey Kong.
The Donkey Kongs. And then another lady in one of the queues saw the Donkey Kong shirts and, of course, did the chest beating.
Yes.
At the Disney park. So
yes.
You're thinking that like everybody's happy to see Donkey Kong. It just turns out they all have heart conditions, and you're gonna feel really bad.
They're having like heart palpitations and they're like really struggling. But instead we're like, oh, that's cute. They're doing the Donkey Kong chest beat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they're at a theme park. They're meant to like, you know, they're meant to hype up guests and stuff. But you know, you can see some people were happy to see Donkey Kong.
I was told from all the signs around that people with heart conditions shouldn't be in those parks.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So if they had heart conditions, they weren't allowed there. They were to get kicked out. Um,
But yeah, just one of the prevailing things that we noticed was just wearing a Donkey Kong shirt or having something Donkey Kong related would elicit a very positive response and a very excited one at that too. And I do think it really goes to show that despite what people online like to talk about, like Donkey Kong is very not only alive and well, but he's thriving in Japan right now. He is like the talk of the town.
I think they are marketing things better in Japan right now than they're marketing them here.
Honestly, I think one of the big points to get across is like, it's not that Donkey Kong isn't popular in Japan, it's that Donkey Kong doesn't get marketed well in America, is what this taught me.
I mean, really though, like, yeah, like, it's easy to get the impression that Nintendo doesn't care or whatever about Donkey Kong if we're being, we're getting the occasional Nintendo Direct instead of seeing like shelves full of him and like lottery events and theme parks and whatever,
And museums dedicated to Donkey Kong,
We get the backwash here. We get like the leftovers. Like we get the odds and ends, but like as you said, Japan is such a smaller, more centralized country, and especially in the major metropolitan areas, they're able to just go all in. Whereas, especially in the United States, it's so spread out, it's so disparate, and you're really just connected through like your Targets and Walmarts and Costco's.
So, Hyle, speaking of Costco, we did visit a Japanese Costco.
Yeah,
oh, really?
There were, yeah, we could buy Donkey Kong Returns from there, but we didn't.
The thing about Costco in Japan, I know this is a wild tangent, but because of how Japan, like, it's so train centric, like not a lot of people use their cars as much, and so the way Costco has to work is that they have to have a 3-tiered parking lot on top. So you drive your car into the parking lot, it elevates you up, you do your shopping, and take it directly to your car, which is still in the Costco, and then you take it home like that because there's no parking in Japan, really. So,
my question though is, so I'm assuming they don't have a tire place in the Costco.
What? I'm not sure. Maybe they still do.
Because what does that Costco smell like if it doesn't have the tire place?
I mean, it does smell like a Costco. I can tell you
Oh,
that.
thank God.
Here's the thing, right? The thing that was really weird about stepping into that Costco is that it felt like I was in a bizarro world because it just looked like a regular ass Costco, just like airlifted.
Just stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, it's like 2 Costcos stacked on top of each other with a 3-tiered parking lot. I did take a picture of it because I found it funny, but the thing about one big part of our trip, I guess, if you don't mind if we indulge, we'll talk a little bit about some of the other weird things we did because I think they're funny. We did of course try some American establishments to see how they differed. And my favorite was the KFC that we walked into that had Colonel Sanders dressed as like a samurai. That was pretty cool, and it also had like a wall banner that was like, "Oh, this is like the distance from Kentucky, Japan to Kentucky, USA." So that's I know Freezer really wants us to tell this ramen story, so
I'll let you handle that one.
Yes, I want to hear this now too.
So it was one of our last days in Japan. It was one of our last days, and we realized, we haven't actually had ramen the entire time we were here. Like most of the time we had like curry and like, like whatever.
Avocado hot dogs.
Yeah, like a lot of convenience store food because like in Japan, like that's actually like a actual convenience. They're like nice and taste good and they're cheap. Um, so it was like late at night. We were looking for a ramen place on Google Maps, and of course, it points us to this location, and we're like, wait, this isn't the right place that it was pointing to. But the right next to where it pointed us to was like a small, like mom and pop, like ramen shop. And we were like looking at the menu outside, we're like, oh, that looks kind of good. Like, oh, maybe we'll try this one. And then so like the owner of the store like pulls us in. Um, obviously it was like late at night. It was like they're like, oh yeah, like, well, you should try, come in, so we go in, and the lady sitting, we're like trying to decide our order, and the lady sitting behind us is like, uh, you know, uh, I can't, I don't want to do the accent, but she's like, oh,
Please don't.
I speak some English, it was like very heavily accented, she was obviously like a little bit drunk, maybe. Um, she was having fun. Uh, Starts talking to us. She's like, "Oh, how's my English? Good, great." So we said, "Oh yeah, you're doing great. You're doing great." And then she says, Was it lovely?" I was like, Yeah. So then, uh, she's like, "Oh yeah." She starts talking to us. She's like, "Oh, so where are you guys from? Where are you? We were like saying Idaho. None of them knew it at the thing until like a couple minutes later, like someone else sitting, like a couple tables down was like, "Oh, potato," because that's what they know Idaho for. And so she's having some fun with us. She says, uh, so like, so you're from America, so you know X videos, the porn site. Uh,
Oh, okay. I wouldn't know because I don't taint my brain with anything of the perverse or erotic nature.
all right, Hyle. All right, Mr. Perfect. She's like, oh, you know X videos? And we're like, yeah, we know it. Um, and so she's like trying to ask, like, oh yeah, like what kind of girls do you like on there? Do you like Asian girls, or do you like American girls, or what? And we were like, it was very out of nowhere. Um, but it was very funny, and so obviously, like, we're like, oh yeah, we don't judge, we don't care, uh uh and so she says, she she's trying to ask, like, if we're gay or not. So she says, do you like pee pee? Which uh
Yes.
we pointed to me and
Wait.
Adam and said, oh yeah,
I was like, what did you point to? Okay, okay.
we pointed, we were like, oh, married, and she's like, oh, that's so beautiful, you guys are so beautiful. And then she's like, obviously she's practicing English, so she's like,
Handsome.
she corrects herself, she's like, handsome, you know she's a very sweet lady, but yeah,
Very, very cute, very sweet.
it was just very funny to go to a mom and pop ramen shop and be asked if we watch X videos.
If you like pee-pee, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we liked pee. So yeah, how was the ramen? It was pretty good. I got uh what was it?
I got the,
Moku.
I got the same thing as you did. They were both very good.
It was a ramen with an egg in the middle, cut in half.
Lots of what's the name? Sprouts. A lot of sprouts in it.
Yeah,
Really good.
it was very good. Um, was it better than KFC?
Yes.
So the thing about the KFC is, I think it was the most disappointing, like, American establishment we tried, because it was just a KFC. Um,
You're not getting anything new there. They like their fried chicken, and so it's fried chicken.
yeah, of course, like, yeah, some of the other fast food that we did, we tried like a McDonald's. They had like a teriyaki whatever burger, which is weird to have like a teriyaki thing at a McDonald's. Um, I don't know. But the food was interesting. We did have actual Japanese food, though. I would say that, because I know we've been talking like, oh, we didn't. We had all this like absolute shit. So
Yeah, we got the Costco free samples, so
Well, so the thing is, they actually did have different stuff at the Costco. Like, you normally go there for the Costco hot dog, but they also had they had a matcha.
No avocado on that.
No avocado, but you could get like salmon poke rolls. You could get a bulgogi beef bake. You could get
It was a matcha,
like a matcha green tea smoothie.
yeah.
or
I
ice
got
cream.
that, and it was ice cream, yeah, and it was very good.
I
Um,
myself got the what was it? The mango smoothie or so? No, not mango. It's
I don't know what you got.
oh, I'm trying to think of the fruit. Give me just a second and I can find it.
Yeah, you don't know. He doesn't know fruits. Uh,
Let
but
me
yeah,
see.
Kyle, do you have any fun questions for us about our Japan trip?
Did you fulfill your ambitions for the trip?
I think it was a lot of fun and definitely worth the cost of admission.
I would say we definitely did. And like I said, I think the biggest thing to take away is not only is Donkey Kong as a brand alive and like probably at one of the biggest heights it's been in years, but also it definitely feels like in Japan, Donkey Kong never left the zeitgeist. It feels like Donkey Kong's always sort of been a pillar there for people. And the biggest problem with the Donkey Kong brand is the failure of the American branch to really push it in specific places
I mean, I think the biggest
in terms of like merch.
I think well, I think the biggest failure in the American side of things is that they're being given games that don't use the characters anymore. But that's like a different problem.
Cantaloupe smoothie, that was it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the crystal porn.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.